Chapter 176. Phew, it's finally over. Watching the female blue maggot carrying the blue maggot prince away, Ainz wiped the non-existent cold sweat from his forehead. Although blue maggots have basically no body odor and will not metamorphose into disgusting flies, there is always a very subtle feeling. Sig crossed his legs, picked up a grape and threw it into his mouth. President, your acting skills have deteriorated. Ainz was actually quite helpless. He really didn't expect Demiurge to be so fast, and he was not prepared in such a hurry. Demiurge's message arrived 1 second ago, and the blue maggot prince was sent to the sorceress kingdom the next second. Although this is a bit exaggerated, in terms of timing, we had just resolved the issue in the Angelica Mountains when news came from there. To be honest, I was a little worried that my lie would be discovered. After all, this war is essentially self-directed and self-acted. Whether it was the Holy Kingdom or the demi-humans, they were all deceived. Sig was quite calm, because he already understood what Demiurge wanted to do. This plan was actually not complicated. It would guide the Holy Kingdom to attack the Abelian Hills while directly conquering the demi-humans, with both sides advancing simultaneously. But Demiurge played this move very well and directly maximized the benefits. For the Holy Kingdom, once a war is launched, invading another country will become a fait accompli, and it will be in a completely passive situation. After hearing the news of the war, the desperate demi-humans will turn to the Sorceress Kingdom more quickly and offer their land voluntarily. Sig's voice was full of praise. Not only did it put the Holy Kingdom in an unjust position, but it also allowed the Sorceress Kingdom to take advantage of this opportunity to gain new land. Xiaodai is killing two birds with one stone. After this explanation, Ainz finally understood everything. I see. Xiaodai is really thoughtful. It looks like we can conquer the Holy Kingdom soon. It's right to let him do it. With the excuse of invading the country, the Sorceress Kingdom can simply flatten the Holy Kingdom and take down the last human country. By then, the northwest corner of the continent will basically be in the hands of Nazarick, and the remaining council nation will be isolated and helpless. At this point, Sig shook his head. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Have you forgotten about the Dragon King? For Nazarick, the Holy Kingdom is the last country, and the same is true for the Council Kingdom. When both sides focus their attention on one place, it becomes obvious what will happen. The red flames in Ainz's eyes suddenly lit up. You mean, the war is about to begin? This isn't a big battle, don't get too excited. If the main fighting force of the Dragon Clan could be lured out so easily, then there would be no point in arranging the seven-colored Dragon King as bait. Taking this opportunity, Sig prepared to have a good chat with Ainz and explain the current situation clearly. For the Platinum Dragon King, his mission is to protect the world, but humans are just an insignificant part of it. To put it simply, the Holy Kingdom is not that valuable, and the number of true Dragon Kings it can attract is limited. If the plan goes well, there should be small-scale battles, but definitely no major wars. Ainz was a little excited just now, but now that he had calmed down, he understood what Sig meant. So what you mean is that we will likely be hindered by the Dragon King in the process of conquering the Holy Kingdom, so it won't be smooth sailing. Sig nodded. During the time of the Theocracy, a suspected Everdark Dragon King appeared, which means that the true Dragon Kings actually wanted to interfere. Ainz stroked his chin, but due to the suppression of the Apocalypse Locust Plague, I didn't take any other action. The true Dragon King is the last obstacle to Nazarick's conquest of the other world, and is indeed more troublesome than other enemies. Especially the Platinum Dragon King. This guy is not only powerful and difficult to defeat individually, but also extremely smart. He has been guarding his lair so tightly that it is difficult to lure him out. More true Dragon Kings are also hiding, and it takes some effort to find them. But for the sake of future safety, this group of potential dangers must not be left alone, which puts them in a very embarrassing situation. Sig's expression turned serious. In short, we still have to be prepared for the Dragon King to appear. This is a danger but also an opportunity. Ainz pondered for a moment, then suddenly said, in this war, I will personally lead the charge to annihilate the Holy Kingdom's army and demonstrate my might. Sig narrowed his eyes slightly, then couldn't help laughing. President, if you make such a big noise like this, you might be ambushed by the Platinum Dragon King. Ainz was stunned for a second. Hey? Is this going to happen? He just wanted to force the Holy Kingdom into a desperate situation and lure out the Dragon King hiding in the dark, but a direct fight would be beyond his expectations. Just kidding. Besides, I'm here. You don't have to worry at all. After all, Ainz decided to go at the last minute, and given the Platinum Dragon King's character, he would definitely not act rashly. But for the soldiers of the Holy Kingdom, this would be a devastating disaster. The Holy Kingdom was still unaware that it had declared war on the Sorceress Kingdom. They had come here with the confidence of winning, but when they saw a demon-like existence on the battlefield, most people must have been scared out of their wits. Just thinking about that kind of scene makes me despair. Sig said earnestly, President, cheer up. This war still needs the great Sorcerer King to show his strength. The corners of Ainz's non-existent mouth twitched slightly. I'll just assume that you're praising me. Sig smiled, of course. I can't wait to see the new super-level magic. Which one do you plan to use this time? Ainz also learned to play charades, and said mysteriously, probably using cute little animals. On the other side, the army has already assembled. The population of the Holy Kingdom is far smaller than that of the theocracy, but because of the policy of universal military service, it has still gathered about 50,000 elite troops. Remedios and Quillat led the way in front like guards. The Holy Princess Carco, wearing a suit of pure white armor, walked slowly to the front of the stage with elegant steps. The specially made head armor only barely protected the top of the head, leaving the beautiful face completely exposed. She was eye-catching just by standing there. The soldiers began to whisper among themselves, saying that she was worthy of being called the treasure of the Holy Kingdom. Karl coughed lightly and smiled faintly, then please be quiet for a while. As if by magic, the crowd immediately fell silent, and the final pre-war mobilization began. The Holy Kingdom has been persecuted by the demi-humans. Today is the time to fight back. Please join me in the fight. As soon as he finished speaking, the crowd burst into enthusiastic cheers. Long live His Majesty the Holy King! Seeing that the atmosphere was right, Remedios drew out the holy sword named Sepharazia and raised his arms and shouted. All troops attack! Chapter 177. There had once been a kingdom in the Abelian Hills founded by the Hill Dwarves, but it was soon destroyed under siege by other subhuman races. After this, the sub-races established their own tribes and fought each other endlessly for survival resources. This area soon became a notorious zone of chaos, and because most of the demi-humans regarded humans as food, the neighboring Holy Kingdom suffered. After experiencing the great invasion of the demi-humans, the Holy Kingdom learned from its mistakes, gradually strengthened its national defense, and built towering walls to block the invasion. For the Saint Queen, this somewhat despicable war was actually something she had no choice but to do. Although Her Majesty the Queen has the talent to govern the country, she is not willing to do the dirty work that is insidious and tough, and still adheres to her own ethics. Unlike the nobles who wanted to gain profits, what the Saint Queen really wanted was to prevent the people from being harmed again. There are many subhuman races with strong reproductive abilities, and they will become even stronger in a few decades. If they are not uprooted while they are weak, the Holy Kingdom will surely be invaded again, and more citizens will be killed, thus falling into a vicious cycle. Oh, God, please bring us victory. Kako clasped his hands together, looked at the departing army and prayed devoutly. Remedios rode his warhorse at a rapid speed in front, almost reaching the front. Her eyes were determined and there was a fanatical gleam in them. Whenever she was confused or afraid, she would always think of the ideal oath of the Holy Queen. To make the weak people happy, we must build a country where no one cries. Remedios firmly believes that this ideal will come true, so she has the courage to move forward. This is her way of the paladin. Koirat frowned slightly, sister seems too excited. As the commander, you should stay behind. This time the army was integrated by various parties, and Remedios, who represented the Queen's faction, was naturally given the position of commander-in-chief. Taking into account her lack of strategy, a staff group was also assigned to participate in decision-making. But even so, it is the coach's top priority to ensure his own safety, otherwise it will be troublesome if he encounters danger. Carco smiled slightly. But seeing Remedios like this, I'm also motivated. I feel like we should win. Koirat sighed helplessly, this is the charm of the stupid sister. All the Asians knelt on the ground, ready to welcome the king's arrival. There should be more demi-humans here, but these are all we could collect in such a short time. Ziza had a serious look on her face, her eyes with crosshairs shot out a cold gaze, and the black muzzle of the gun seemed to suck people in. Although she is small in stature, she has a strong presence and the subhumans are very afraid of her. After seeing the portal appear, Ziza immediately shouted loudly, everyone lower your heads. In the black vortex, an undead figure dressed in gorgeous robes walked out, and a strong aura of death hit him in the face. Following closely behind was a man with a smile on his face. He didn't look very imposing and seemed easy to bully. Was he the secretary? Sensing the demi-human's obvious contempt, Sig opened his pair of golden vertical pupils, and tangible murderous aura poured out. All the demi-humans began to tremble, especially the reptiles, whose scales exploded. Ainz looked at Sig helplessly. Can't you control your bad taste? It's getting more and more outrageous. Sig shrugged helplessly, raised his hand to call Zizi, and led her to the side to watch the show. After all, he is here to protect the Emperor, so let's leave the stage to Ainz. Ainz coughed lightly and said, I am Ainz Oolgown, the Sorcerer King of the Sorceress Kingdom. The Holy Kingdom army is already on its way here. Submission to the Sorceress Kingdom is your only way out. Make your choice now. The demi-humans who came here actually all wanted to surrender, because if they didn't obey, they would have died. Greetings to His Majesty the Sorcerer King. We are willing to surrender. There were sporadic voices, and it was obvious that the person was so frightened that he couldn't speak clearly. The culprit, Sig, stroked Ziza's soft hair as if nothing had happened and looked away. It was none of his business anyway. Lord Sig, rub my head, it feels good. Ziza stood there blankly. Because she was too nervous, her tone was even more robotic than usual, but her face still had a serious expression. Sig smiled and let go of his hand. No wonder Ziza became the darling of the maids. She was really cute. The demi-humans were officially conquered here, and they were also transferred to the rear to avoid being affected by the war. Ainz used flying magic to find the highest point of the hill, and Sig and Shizu followed. Looking down from here, you can see the entire scenery below. The location is really good. Sig warned, don't take it lightly. After all, the two of them had worked hard to convince the Guardians to agree to this plan, and it would be disastrous if anything went wrong. In order to cooperate with Ainz, Sig also took risks. Albedo alone would not let him go, and in every sense of the word. Ainz nodded, his tone becoming more serious. Sig-san, I'll leave my back to you. I will quickly wipe out all the enemies. Sig smiled, quick annihilation, is that really the super-level magic? Yes, that is the only instant death magic with the largest range. Ziza looked at the two supreme beings who had been silenced, with a somewhat bewildered expression. Sig smiled and bent down, coaxing, Ziza, the president will summon a cute goat kid, are you looking forward to it? Cute. Shizu's eyes sparkled. I look forward to it. Thank you, Ainz-sama, for letting me see the cute goat. Ainz covered his face. He had watched helplessly as Sig dug a hole for him again. This guy was really good at tricking people. At this time, the vanguard of the Holy Kingdom had already entered the interior of the Abelian Hills. The road was unobstructed and they moved at a very fast speed. Even if we encounter subhumans on the road, they are all old, weak, sick, and disabled, and can be easily dealt with. But when faced with the subhuman cubs, everyone hesitated for a moment. But Remedios stabbed out directly, drew out the bloody holy sword, and kicked the small corpse aside. Don't stop, keep going. Infected by this momentum, the soldiers responded one after another. The obstacles in front were cleared, and the following troops followed closely and advanced rapidly. Pavel, who passed by later, happened to see the body of the demi-human cub and had a bad feeling in his heart. As they moved forward quickly, the bad feeling became stronger and stronger, and his sixth sense was warning him to escape quickly. Before he could take any action, a figure appeared in the sky, and the majestic voice of the undead king seemed to pierce his eardrums. You have invaded the territory of the Sorceress Kingdom. It seems that you are prepared to be annihilated. Chapter 178. Sorcerer King Ainz Oolgown. The undead skeleton floating in the sky turned out to be the legendary Sorcerer King. The Holy Kingdom's army fell into a brief riot. In addition to being shocked by Ainz's identity, they were even more confused about when the Abelian Hills became the territory of the Sorceress Kingdom. How did this revenge against Asians become a war of aggression? But if what this undead said is true, then the Holy Kingdom's move would be an act of declaration of war, and they would have to face a horde of undead. For a moment, no one dared to act rashly. Stop joking. Remedios's roar broke the deadlock and attracted everyone's attention. Ainz lowered his eyes and saw the brown-haired woman's expression twisted in anger, with rage gushing out of her eyes. Oh, you are the commander of the army? Tell me your name. The most powerful paladin in the Holy Kingdom, the current leader of the paladins, Remedios Custodio, is also the Holy Queen's right-hand man. Although he pretended not to know him, Ainz's mind immediately popped up the person's information. Remedios gritted his teeth and said, I am the commander of the Holy Kingdom's army, but how can you prove that you are the Sorcerer King? This statement caused a huge uproar. Pavel secretly thought that something was wrong, but it was too late to stop it. Ainz seemed to have heard something funny. Ha ha ha, does this prove it? Show yourself, my servants. With heavy footsteps, the Death Knight marched in unison and slowly appeared in everyone's sight. Perhaps sensing the breath of death, the war horses neighed and raised their front hooves anxiously, wanting to escape from here quickly. Pavel raised his hand and stroked his beloved horse. He wanted to escape, but if he escaped now, things might get worse. He glanced at his wife not far away and made up his mind secretly. You are undoubtedly the one who can command the powerful undead. You are none other than the Sorcerer King. Hearing the compliment, Ainz turned his gaze and happened to meet those vicious eyes. Pavel stood up and dismounted, kneeling on one knee. My name is Pavel Barija. I am black, one of the 9 colors of the Holy Kingdom. I was once saved by the Holy Dragon God. Ainz lowered his head and seemed to think briefly. His voice became softer, Sir Pavel, I have heard of you. As for who told it, that goes without saying. Pavel breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he had a chance to communicate. Your Majesty, the Holy Kingdom believes that Abelian Hills is an unowned land, so they sent troops to attack. Is there any misunderstanding? Oh? Your country seems unaware that the demi-humans in this land have already submitted to the Sorceress Kingdom. It seems to be a misunderstanding. Your Majesty, what do you want to do? But before the two could talk for a few words, Remedios couldn't stand it anymore and interrupted them. She glared at Pavel, blaming him for acting on his own. A mere sergeant actually spoke before the commander. He had absolutely no discipline at all. Pavel opened his mouth, but in the end he said nothing in rebuttal. He had indeed overstepped his authority. Ainz didn't waste any words and directly stated his demands: leave this land immediately, and apologize for the massacre of innocent demi-humans. As for compensation, I think your Majesty the Queen would be willing to pay it. Remedios felt her rage rising to her head, and her rationality snapped. She drew out her holy sword, and veins on her forehead throbbed. She could agree to evacuate, but she would never agree to apologize to the Asians. In order to implement the absolute justice in her heart, she can swing her knife at the demi-human cubs without hesitation. The evil demi-humans deserve to die. Damned undead, do you want to bring shame to the Holy Kingdom? What a shame! I'll have to chase you away myself then. Ainz's cold and ruthless voice sounded from above, and then several magic circles appeared around him, and brilliant magical light shot straight into the sky. As soon as the Holy Kingdom army pointed their weapons at the Death Knight, they were stunned by the scene before them. Remedios shouted at the top of his lungs, archers and magic casters, all ready to attack. But no one answered, especially the magic casters. They only saw the great magic and could no longer hear any other voices. Pavel took out the bow with shaking hands and put the arrow on it, but he couldn't pull the taut bowstring. It's over. It's all over. Remedios rushed over, snatched the bow and arrow, and shot it without aiming. Call out! With a sound of breaking wind, the arrow miraculously shot straight towards the Sorcerer King in the sky. No matter how powerful the magic caster is, he is caught off guard when casting magic, and the opponent is still in the air, leaving him no chance to dodge. Just as Remedios was waiting expectantly for the magic to be interrupted, the arrow seemed to have touched an invisible wall and was bounced away. For Ainz, who had dozens of buffs, this kind of attack was not even a tickle. After waiting for a minute and making sure that no Dragon King would take action, he crushed the hourglass in his hand, and the paid item took effect immediately. Super-level magic sacrifice of dark fruitfulness. The battlefield fell into a brief silence, and the wind of death blew slowly, leaving only an imperceptible ripple. Before the living people realized what was happening, the ominous black sphere that had appeared out of nowhere exploded, and the sacrificed people were swallowed up by the gushing black water. Me. A strange black creature more than 10 meters tall took shape, and its open mouth made a cute goat-like sound. There are 3 such creatures in total. Black Goat Kid, whose level is above LV90, is summoned in proportion to the casualties caused by the super-level magic sacrifice of dark fruitfulness. Although it has no special abilities, it has great patience and its huge size is intimidating enough. The Holy Kingdom's army was so frightened that they stood there unable to make a sound, with the bleeding sounds lingering in their ears like a spell. There are only 3. I remember I could summon 5. It seems the death toll is not enough. Sig, standing on a high place, muttered to himself while teasing the little maid beside him, Xiao Zizi, look, there are 3 cute black goats. Zizi frowned, cute. Although she is a combat maid, her definition of cute things is obviously within the scope of a normal girl. Haha, it's okay to say it's not cute. To be honest, I also find it a little hard to describe. Zizi's eyes gradually brightened up, really. Sig suddenly sighed again, but the president might be sad, he thinks his summons are cute. Zizi was stunned, as if a robot had crashed, and she silently put away the 1 yuan stickers on her body. Lord Sig, you are not cute at all. Chapter 179. My lovely little goat, drive out all these invaders and start the pursuit. Ainz waved his hand and gave the order directly. The black goat kid received the order, and it swung its 5 legs with all its might and started moving quickly. But there is always a sense of clumsy comedy in that action, and it is really cute. But for the Holy Kingdom army, it was a completely opposite feeling. The dark young rushed towards the Holy Kingdom army. Ainz added, don't kill 2 of them. Don't go too fast. Focus on driving them away. Leave at least a few thousand survivors. The nature of this war is a just counterattack, so try to avoid massacres. This way, the Sorceress Kingdom will be able to gain the upper hand in future negotiations with the Holy Kingdom. Me. The sound of goats bleating could be heard one after another, and the Holy Kingdom army had fallen into despair. Run away. One soldier seemed to finally react, dropped his weapon and ran back. The soldiers in front of the battle formation were unconsciously retreating, their eyes full of fear. Keep the formation, no one is allowed to escape. Remedios shouted angrily, and a golden sword flashed. The soldier who fled first stopped, and his head fell to the ground in the blink of an eye. The spherical object rolled several times on the ground, leaving a pool of blood. This move indeed intimidated most of the soldiers, and they all stood still and dared not move. Remedios' eyes were bloodshot, and he stood at the front. If you don't want to die, raise your weapons and fight with me. The commander led by example, which was indeed effective in stabilizing the morale of the troops. Although the soldiers were still very scared, they were no longer as eager to escape, and they finally formed a battle formation. Remedios's heart was not as calm as he appeared to be. He was just ignorant and hoping for the best. As the strongest paladin in the Holy Kingdom, how could he lose to the summoned undead? As long as he uses the holy strike that contains divine power, everything will be solved. Facing the increasingly close black goat kid, the corners of her mouth curled up, forcing out a confident smile. That's right, I won't lose. Boom. The black goat kid raised its thick legs and trampled on the human body wantonly, using its tentacles to easily push away anything that was blocking its way. All kinds of weapons hit it, but it didn't cause any damage at all. Remedios still held his sword in the air. There was no one around him. Only a few pools of blood were left, and not even a broken limb was left. Ah! Water flow acceleration holy strike. She rushed forward like crazy, aimed at a leg, raised her holy sword and chopped wildly. But as if mocking her, the black goat kid didn't even glance at her, and simply flicked it away with its tentacles. Remedios vomited blood and fell to the ground. His silver body armor instantly shattered and he was unable to get up again. Kill me quickly. Ainz flew down from the sky and landed next to the headstrong commander. His voice was filled with obvious disappointment. Your stupidity has resulted in casualties among the soldiers. It would be a shame to just kill you. Although both of us are warriors, you and Gazef are totally different. Remedios' eyes widened, blood gushed out of his mouth, and he couldn't even speak. Looking at her like this, I wonder if she regrets her previous decision. Ainz no longer cared and used flying magic to land on the black young goat, while amplifying magic carried his voice several kilometers away. I, Ainz Olgaun, guarantee that the armies of the Holy Kingdom will not be able to escape death as long as you stand on the territory of the Sorceress Kingdom. So run away quickly, the farther the better. Upon hearing this, the Holy Kingdom army's last will to resist collapsed, and they all ran for their lives, fearing that they would be left behind and trampled to death. Perhaps it was an illusion, the black goat kid actually slowed down his pace and moved much more slowly. Seeing this funny scene, Pavel smiled bitterly. He did not flee with the main group, but took the initiative to walk to the feet of the black goat kid. Met. The dark young received Ainz's order and knew that this man could not be killed, so he turned around and ran away. The expected death did not come. Pavel's eyes opened again, full of confusion and puzzlement. He looked at the Sorcerer King's back from afar and finally understood what was going on. He held a severed female arm with a complicated expression. Lord Holy Dragon God, why wasn't it me? This should be the territory of the subhumans. The blonde girl climbed up a hillside and looked into the distance earnestly with her ferocious eyes. Although Nia did not have the good eyesight of her father Pavel, it was much better than the average person and she could see clearly even at a distance of several hundred meters. Let me see where the army is. Ningye, who wanted to prove herself, decided to rebel and quietly came to the battlefield, determined to kill at least a few demi-humans. However, I didn't see any demi-humans along the way, only some corpses lying on the roadside. The battle couldn't be over yet. Just as Ningye was thinking, a soldier hurriedly ran out from the opposite direction with a look of extreme fear on his face, as if something was chasing him from behind. Who are you? Get lost. Ningye was also wearing clothes with the Holy Kingdom emblem on them, so she wanted to go up and ask, but she was pushed to the ground unexpectedly. The soldiers were so busy running that they didn't even have time to look back. And behind him, another steady stream of soldiers came running, all of them with similar expressions. Ningye wanted to stand up, but was kicked down by someone behind her. She could only curl up in embarrassment. The earth began to tremble gradually, and sand and stones on the ground flew everywhere. A sharp stone with an angular shape happened to hit her forehead, and blood immediately gushed out. It hurts. Ningye didn't know what was going on. The fear of the unknown lingered in her heart, and she regretted coming here alone. Suddenly, the sky was covered with dark clouds and the sun disappeared without a trace. Ningye looked closely and her eyes almost popped out of her head. What is this? The huge foot is about to fall, and if you get stepped on it, you will undoubtedly be turned into a meat patty. At this critical moment, a huge force suddenly grabbed Ningye's collar and threw her aside. The Black Goat Kid looked at something not far away, obviously hesitated for a moment, but then ran away directly. Before Ningye recovered from the fear of death, a maid wearing an eye patch appeared in front of her, with the muzzle of a silver gun pointed at her. Hey, are you still alive? Ah. Ghost. It's not a ghost, it's Zizi. After a brief explanation, Ningye finally understood that it was the maid in front of her who used the invisible skill to save her from the monster. Well, thank you, Miss Zizi, but why did you save me? Zizi said simply, because it's an order. Nia was confused. Hey. Chapter 180. Come with me. Zizi waved her hand, signaling Nia to follow. Ningye swallowed and followed her with trepidation. At this moment, she had no choice but to listen to her. After walking for a few hundred meters, the person she admired most appeared under the shade of a tree. Sig smiled and greeted, "Long time no see, Miss Ninja." After a brief moment of distraction, Ningye's eyes sparkled, "Lord Holy Dragon God, it turned out that you were the one who saved me." Sig shook his head, "No, it was Xiao Zizi who saved you. I didn't do anything." Zizi replied somewhat coldly, "I am only following the orders of Lord Sig. Sig adult. Anyone who can address Lord Holy Dragon God like this must be a confidant, and a very close one at that." Nia felt jealous, but it was quickly suppressed by shame. No matter what, she couldn't have such thoughts about her savior. A paladin should be a messenger of justice. "Miss Zizi, thank you so much. I will definitely repay you for saving my life." Zizi said expressionlessly, "I know, but it's not necessary because you are too weak, Nia." "Hey, you know my name. Lord Sig told me. You called me by my name, so I can call you that, too." "That's exactly what I mean." As expected, they are two people who can become friends in the original work. They started chatting so quickly. It seems like it is fate. Sig coughed lightly, "Ms. Ninja, I want to ask you a question, why are you here?" Nia subconsciously stood at attention and stammered as she told him the reason for her visit. She carefully observed Sig's facial expression, afraid of seeing any disgust or displeasure, but fortunately nothing like that happened. Sig maintained his usual smile, "I see. However, the battlefield is too dangerous. You should pay attention to your own safety in the future." "Yes, sir." Nia subconsciously responded in the tone of a subordinate, and her cheeks quickly turned red when she realized what she was dreaming about. Sig didn't notice this detail. He just looked complicated. "Don't you want to know why I'm here?" Ningye didn't dare to ask, but she still said honestly, then why did you come? Because this place is the territory of the Sorceress Kingdom. Not long ago, when I was accompanying the Sorcerer King on an inspection tour, the army of the Holy Kingdom directly invaded and killed many innocent demi-humans. The Sorcerer King was very angry and went to fight him personally. That terrifying black goat kid was his summon. Ningya was stunned by what she heard, and her mouth was open for a long time in shock. Sig sighed, I couldn't stop it, I could only come to check the situation, and that's how I saved you by accident. By the way, your father should be fine too. He told me my name, so he should be let go. Receiving so much information at once, Ningya felt like her brain was about to explode. Her voice trembled, tears welled up in her eyes, but my mother is also in the army. Please, Lord Holy Dragon God, please save my mother again. Even if she's dead, you can still use resurrection magic, right? Sig looked at her with pity, I'm sorry. As we all know, resurrection magic requires corpses, but they must be difficult to find in such a chaotic battlefield. Ningya also knew this, and she quickly adjusted her mood, I'm sorry, I went too far. As an invading country, I still want my parents to survive. Please pretend you didn't hear it. That's right, her father was lucky to be alive, how could she dare to ask for more? Xiza looked at Nia thoughtfully, and suddenly said, Lord Sig, I think we can give it a try. We just need to find the body. Nia wiped the tears from her face and looked at Xiza in disbelief. To be honest, Sig was a little surprised that Xiza would speak up for Nia, but this step was just right. He never said he would not save her, he just wanted to create some difficulties and let the other party know that it would cost a great price to achieve his goal. After all, you can't just help people casually. Ostara is a dragon and doesn't quite understand the twists and turns of humans. If you help too easily, the other party may think that this is a very easy thing for you and then become more demanding. Although Nia and Pavel didn't seem to be that kind of people, who could say for sure? Sig thought about it carefully, took out a bow and arrow engraved with runes, and handed it solemnly to Ningye. The danger here is not over yet. I'm lending Xiza to you temporarily. She's not good at close guards, so you can help with this weapon. At this point, Ningye was moved and accepted it. In her eyes, Xiza was obviously stronger than her, but Lord Holy Dragon God found a reasonable reason and gave her a weapon for self-defense. Not only did he provide help, but he also took care of her self-esteem. How gentle! Xiza and Nia left together, looking quite harmonious. Sig stretched out of boredom, and wings sprouted from his back. It's time to go check out the results of the battle. At the end of the horizon, an endless wall separated the Holy Kingdom from this chaotic land, and the fleeing soldiers swarmed there like ants. Ainz looked into the distance. The Dark Young had been unsummoned, and the pursuit was clearly over. Only 2,000 people survived out of the 50,000-man army. It looks like the Saint Queen is going to have a headache. Sig folded his wings and landed precisely next to Ainz. Ainz said affirmatively, Sig-san, I heard that you saved another girl. Noticing the other party's obvious resentment, Sig explained, what are you thinking? I don't think only with my lower body. She is a talented person. It's easy to take over the land, but governance is obviously more important. The Sorceress Kingdom needs more talents. The double phantom is indeed convenient to use, but compared with the real person, it always lacks some subjective initiative. In essence, they are obedient puppets that only follow orders and have no ability to grow. Sig controlled Quin-Eyes before, but what he actually got was also a puppet, but he was gifted and it evolved directly. For future development, it would obviously be more efficient to adopt the method of winning people's hearts. Ainz half believed and half doubtedly agreed with this reason. After all, it was true. The NPCs in Nazarick are indeed excellent, but if they want to rule the world, they are definitely not enough, and the participation of local people is essential. Sig suggested, now that we've dealt with this, why don't we go check on our new subordinates? Ainz did not refuse, yes, I do want to meet him. In the blink of an eye, the two arrived at the original battlefield. The two figures knelt down at the same time, greetings to the two majesties. Pavel neither wanted to nor dared to harbor hatred towards the man who had killed his wife. After all, the situation at that time was already very clear. It was Remedios's willful behavior that angered the Sorcerer King, leading to such a tragedy. In the final analysis, they are too weak and too short-sighted. Ainz looked at the severed arm on the ground. Is this your wife? Hearing this, Nia could no longer suppress her sorrow, and her tears fell to the ground. Please, show me mercy. Ainz said calmly, resurrection through a severed arm requires the use of the highest level of resurrection magic. You should understand that this is not something that can be done casually. Pavel lowered his head. I am willing to give up everything I have, including my body and soul, just for a chance. If he didn't know that he could be resurrected, he might not be so crazy, but knowing that there is hope, he naturally wants to seize that opportunity. Remedios is stupid, the Holy Queen is incompetent, and the nobles are greedy. Pavel no longer had much affection for the Holy Kingdom. Now he only cared about his family. His daughter and wife were everything to him. Sig said, perhaps we can try, and the identity of the Holy Kingdom Jew SE also has that value. This statement seems to be a way of helping, but it is actually meant to be a reminder. If you want loyalty, you have to show your value. Pavel understood immediately. If you want to make the Holy Kingdom pay, I can help you. Ainz was silent for a moment, then finally spoke, even if I want to take over the Holy Kingdom, are you willing to help? Pavel bowed deeply and said, I obey your command. Chapter 181. Holy Kingdom, Hobans, Holy King's Palace. In the simply decorated office, there are piles of documents on the wooden desk. Karko's handsome face was wrinkled into a ball, his skin was no longer as smooth and fair as before, and a faint blue-black color appeared under his eyes. No matter how advanced the beauty magic is, it can't hide her tiredness, which is enough to show how haggard she is. Her Majesty, the beautiful and elegant queen, fell into complete collapse. The news of the defeat of the war had reached us, though with the help of the temple it had not yet spread among the people. This time the joint army includes both northern forces and southern noble forces, so it is impossible to hide it. The news can be blocked at the beginning, but if it breaks out, something very bad will definitely happen. Especially the southern nobles, they already have ulterior motives and will definitely make a big fuss about this incident to criticize her, the Saint King, for being incompetent. As the supreme leader, victory in the war can be regarded as an achievement, but failure will naturally lead to the greatest criticism. There is no way around it. This sword of Damocles hanging over his head constantly tormented Karko's fragile nerves. The domestic situation is not optimistic, and the foreign situation is even less optimistic. The power of the Sorceress Kingdom is unquestionable, and the Sorcerer King alone can kill nearly 50,000 soldiers. Not 500, not 5,000, but a full 50,000 people. If it is not handled properly, the Holy Kingdom may face a catastrophic disaster. This is the most desperate situation. Wow, what should I do now? I really didn't mean it. The Holy Princess leaned over the table, tears streaming from her eyes, her body twitching slightly. She looked so miserable and pitiful. Bang! Karl suddenly sat up straight, wiped his tears quickly, raised his hand and patted his cheek, then cleared his throat and said, "Come in." Cocytus raised his hand and pushed open the door. His face, which usually wore a compassionate smile, simply curled the corners of his mouth at this moment, and it was obvious that he was forcing a smile. Although her sister came back alive, she had mental problems and now lies in bed like a disabled person. How could she laugh when she saw the once courageous Remedios become like this? Karko also understood her feelings. She was also deliberately avoiding the topic of Remedios and just smiled gently. Cocytus, what's going on? A dark light flashed in Cocytus's eyes, and she took a step aside. Your Majesty, Pavel Baraj requests an audience. After not seeing him for a few days, Pavel's gloomy temperament became even stronger, and his murderous aura, coupled with his ferocious eyes, was really frightening. Cocytus originally wanted to ask some questions on the way and confirm what happened on the battlefield again, but in the end he was blocked by the other party without any expression. Pavel acted as if nothing had happened and only treated her as a guide. This made Cocytus, who prided herself on being able to see through people's hearts, very unhappy, but she couldn't show it too obviously and could only swallow her anger. What's more, it was this person who brought my sister back. No matter what he thinks behind her back, he has to appear to be okay on the surface. Mr. Pavel. The Saint Queen was somewhat surprised by this unexpected visitor, but she couldn't help but feel a sense of inexplicable hope in her heart. She stretched out her hand, made a gesture of invitation, and lowered her posture very low. No need for unnecessary formalities. Could you please explain your purpose to me first? Pavel nodded and did not refuse, sitting opposite Karko. Because there were outsiders present, Cocytus did not sit down with them, but just stood aside as a guard. As the right-hand man of the Holy Queen, Remedios, who represents military force, has fallen. As the representative of wisdom, I should stay by the Queen's side to protect her. On the surface, they are the king and his subject, but in fact, they already regard each other as family members, and it is their duty to support each other. Seeing the Saint Queen's expectant look, Pavel said straight to the point, I have a way to eliminate the negative impact of this battlefield. Hiss. Karko took a breath of cold air, she stroked her chest and finally calmed down, and asked carefully, what is the specific method? Pavel said slowly, in fact, compared to domestic issues, repairing relations with the Sorceress Kingdom should be your top priority, Your Majesty. Karko felt inexplicably embarrassed. She was indeed kind-hearted and had the reputation of being an incorruptible saint princess, but she also valued her reputation. There was no need to think about domestic problems now. The most important thing was to calm the Sorcerer King's wrath. Kuirat's expression gradually became serious. She didn't expect that this low-key black guy was actually quite smart. Why didn't she notice it before? P.S. Black refers to Pavel. She warned, however, with the Sorcerer King so angry, a direct audience with him might backfire. Pavel seemed to have anticipated this and said directly, so we need an introducer, a medium. Karl frowned and thought seriously about the candidate, introducer. The Magic Kingdom was established only a short time ago, and the Dragon Kingdom and the Empire have established good relations, so it should be people from these two countries. I do have a personal relationship with the Blood Emperor of the Empire. Although I am not very familiar with him, I should be able to give it a try. Pavel shook his head. Your Majesty, have you forgotten? What? If the Holy Dragon God of the Church wants to choose someone to negotiate, I think no one is more suitable than that Lord. Not long ago, Pavel brought back information that the Holy Dragon God of the Theocracy and the Holy Dragon King of the Sorceress Kingdom were the same person. Both Karko and Kuirat remembered it. How could they forget such important information? But suitability is one thing, and success rate is another. Karl sighed, but I have never seen the Holy Dragon God. I'm afraid he won't agree to help me. Although the Blood Emperor is not the most suitable one, as long as a certain price is paid, there is a high probability that he can get help, but it is hard to say about the Holy Dragon God. Pavel said nothing more, but simply said, Your Majesty, you should at least try, right? Karl was upset, so she just said she would think about it and quickly ended the conversation. Kuirat sent Pavel out to a deserted place. Her expression gradually turned cold. Is Your Excellency really doing this for the Holy Kingdom? Pavel nodded without any guilt. Of course. It is certainly a good thing to let the Holy Kingdom be ruled by a more powerful being. And you? Ms. Kuirat, you don't have to doubt my loyalty. I just want to end this farce as soon as possible so that no more tragedies will happen and to clean up your sister's mess. Pavel's wife died and his daughter went missing in the war, so he had the right to say this. The words that Kuirat wanted to say got stuck in his throat, and he could only lower his proud head and said, I'm sorry. Pavel did not respond, but turned and left, leaving Kuirat standing there alone. Message Pavel returned to his residence and immediately took out the magic scroll. Master Sig, my mission has been completed. Now I just need to wait. On the other side, Sig smiled after receiving the message and looked up at Shizu and Nia who were playing in the distance. It's time to close the net, Demiurge. Yes, sir. Chapter 182. To His Majesty the Holy Dragon God. We need to discuss important matters. I can provide you with compensation within my capacity. Please sign your name, Holy King Karko Basaras of the Holy Kingdom. So he went out to pick up women. Juisajiming snorted and laughed twice, and the paper between his fingertips fell with the wind. The black-haired man beside him quickly caught it and carefully put it back into the envelope, but the signs that it had been opened were still obvious. Kuro, why have you become so timid? The once godly captain has become cautious and prudent after a series of events. Not to mention when he was a teenager, he is even a completely different person compared to before he was arrested. Kuro has now cut off his long hair, and his ruby eyes are filled with traces of time. Although he is not even 20 years old, he has a strange feeling of being middle-aged. Master Juisijwiming, the situation is different now. We must not anger Master Shenglongshan. Juisijwiming raised the corner of his mouth and said, You must have been drained dry by women. Before you said you didn't want to get married, but now you have concubines in the double digits. Kuro smiled awkwardly. He really smelled good, but the reason was definitely not because of her beauty. They are already very pitiful because they are oppressed by the Elf King. I cannot let them down. Moreover, they are beautiful and gentle. Married people focus their lives on their families, especially young men who have just gotten married, and the topic naturally revolves around their wives. Chui Sijiming sighed helplessly. She had been listening to Kuro praising his woman all day long, and her ears were almost calloused. Kuro seemed to realize that he was too involved, so he turned the topic to Sijiming. How are you and Lord Holy Dragon God doing? When are you planning to get married? Chui Sijiming choked and looked over fiercely. Where did you hear that? But even though she concealed it well, her bluffing was still evident. Kuro understood. This extreme look was obviously the result of anger and shame after being proven right. It seemed that this was indeed true. Everyone knows about this. The Holy Sun is Ainz. I guess he was the one who leaked the news. This traitor is really good at spreading rumors. Chui Sijiming gritted his teeth and was so angry that he even broke a piece of the table. Kuro kindly advised, Ainz is now the spokesperson of the Holy Dragon God. Even if you have a special status, you can't treat me as casually as before. Chui Sijiming narrowed his eyes and said, it seems that you have completely lost the will to resist. Isn't it good to live a simple life? The Protestant country is protected by God. Forget about what happened before. Kuro suddenly felt shy. Actually, my 3 wives are already pregnant, and family is more important to me. Chui Sijiming had a look of astonishment on his face. Hey! 3 at the same time? That means you will be the father of 3 children. Haha, 4 to be exact, one of them is a twin. Congratulations! No wonder the feeling changed, it turns out I'm going to be a father. Kuro suddenly became serious. He pleaded earnestly, actually, I want you to be their godmother. I wonder if there is such a chance. When Chui Sijiming heard the word they, he almost couldn't control his expression. Who could have so many children at once? Okay, but why are you asking me? Kuro smiled and said, thank you. Actually, there is no special reason. I heard that half-elves will not be accepted by both races, so... Chui Sijiming held his chin with an inexplicable smile on his face, so you came to me, a half-elf senior. Kuro realized that the person in front of him was most averse to mentioning elves, and was even unwilling to show his long ears. He quickly apologized, I'm sorry, I didn't mean anything else. Chui Sijiming waved his hands and said nonchalantly, since you are a good father, I won't bother with you. The awakened god-man, his mother is under house arrest in the anbu of the church, and his father is out on missions all day, and they only see each other a few times a year, so the family affection is particularly indifferent. Kuro values kinship, which is a rare thing. Kuro sighed, it seems that you have changed too, but doesn't the Holy Dragon God just fit your view of choosing a partner? Why don't you be more honest? To put it more clearly, he has been very generous in allowing the bloodline of the 6 gods to be passed on. Your union is the best choice. Analogous to the princess of the previous dynasty and the emperor of the new dynasty, this is an important step in the transition from the old religious state to the new religious state. You really don't understand? He is against the theocracy. Kuro interrupted directly, and his words were very sharp, to be honest, I don't think you have any feelings for the church. You just regard protection as a mission. Don't use this as an excuse. Everyone has made sacrifices for the life we have now, so why can't you compromise? Chui Sijiming bit her lips, raised her hands to cover her face, and finally admitted the point that she cared about the most. Because it's so embarrassing. Now it was Kuro's turn to be shocked. So the root cause was his ego being crushed? He was upset because his pride had been crushed. He was so desperate that he didn't care about his face anymore and started crying while lying on the table. I'm obviously the strongest human being. And yet he easily tricked me. Isn't it love at first sight? Aren't we going to be together forever? It's all a lie. Woo, woo, I will never trust a man again. Chui Sijiming cried louder and louder, his words became incoherent, and he started to throw a tantrum and roll on the ground. However, after this incident, the anger that was stuck in her heart finally cleared up. Just when she wanted to explain to Kuro, she looked up and saw another face. Sig tried so hard to hold back his laughter that his facial muscles began to tremble. There were still tears on Chui Sijiming's face, his eyes were red and swollen, and his fair skin turned red, like a steamed duck. When did you come? Where's Kuro? I asked him to leave a long time ago. You were so engrossed in the conversation that you probably didn't hear it. Chui Sijiming was embarrassed and angry when he heard the teasing. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. Sig covered his mouth and laughed, ha ha ha, it turns out that RND cares about being deceived. I didn't lie to you. Chui Sijiming really wanted to complain about what bullshit Sig was talking about, but she just looked up angrily. Sig pinched her face while wiping away her tears, because it was indeed love at first sight, and I also said that I want to be with you, hiding it from you is not considered cheating. And I've already confessed my feelings, are you trying to get me to propose now? It turns out you're forcing me to marry you. Chui Sijiming raised his hand and hit Sig on the chest, then reached out to his pants, and directly tore open his skirt, and the poor little pants were thrown aside. Stop talking nonsense. I'm in a hurry to get pregnant. I'm going to do it right here. Sig didn't even have time to refuse before the person in front of him pounced on him. People from the other world are so scary, how can they be so wild? Chapter 183. The next morning, warm sunlight shone in from the window, casting a golden glow. Chui Sijiming woke up slowly, opened her eyes, and found that she was the only one left on the warm big bed. There was no soreness in my body, and I felt very refreshed. It seemed that the follow-up work had been done. You're so skilled, I feel a little uncomfortable for some reason. Chui Sijiming raised his hand and gently smoothed the wrinkles on the bed, feeling the remaining temperature and breath, and revealed his signature smirk, darling, let's give it a try. It's never too late to date with the purpose of getting married. In a blink of an eye, Chui Sijiming changed into a thin black and white skirt and pushed open the office door. Darling, are you busy? The girl's sweet voice came, and the first thing that caught my eye was a pair of cunning, heterochromatic eyes. Sig looked up and smiled, good morning, I'm not busy now. Chui Sijiming walked over, jumped onto the desk, and sat down opposite Sig. She smiled and shook her white legs. Along with the fragrance comes the looming absolute territory, which makes people want to do something about it. Sig reluctantly stopped flipping through the documents and said, so, last night wasn't enough? Why do you suddenly want to have a baby? Chui Sijiming pouted, Kuro is going to be a father soon, I don't want to fall behind. She lifted a corner of her skirt, revealing the lace on the fabric, which was also black and white. How about some morning exercise? It would be impolite for Sig to refuse the invitation to the office play. About an hour later, Chui Sijiming was lying on the table, panting, with a flushed face. She was like a broken rag doll, being manipulated by a pair of hands to put on her clothes and put them in order. Chui Sijiming crawled into Sig's arms, found a comfortable position to sit down, and asked with a pursed mouth, why is it over so soon? Usually it only takes a few hours. There is still work to do. We can't be too self-indulgent. Business. Looking up, I saw a letter with the Holy Kingdom emblem printed on it, with traces of water on it. Chui Sijiming quietly moved his buttocks and deliberately said in a low voice, darling, don't worry about that. Sig smiled and said, are you jealous? Chui Sijiming snorted, why did you hook up with the Saint Queen? She is just a hypocritical woman. There was a smile in Sig's eyes. He had already understood that Chui Sijiming was using this matter to trick him into talking. However, he always responds to requests from his own people. In fact, the Holy Queen is not the point, the Holy Kingdom is. Chui Sijiming simply stopped pretending and his expression became more serious, darling, what exactly do you want to do? Do you really want to destroy the world? First the kingdom surrendered, then the empire and the dragon kingdom. The theocracy was also destroyed once, and now it is the Holy Kingdom's turn. Sig was puzzled, why do we want to destroy the world? We want to rule the world. Chui Sijiming pursed his lips, but still couldn't hold back his inner doubts, but what's the difference between this and the 8 Desire Kings? The ultimate goal is to rule the world, but the world is destroyed in the process. It seems that what the Sorceress Kingdom does is not much different, except that it acts a little more gently. Sig smiled and explained, it is not difficult to rule the world by force, but to build a stable country, order must be re-established, and sacrifices during this period are inevitable. A necessary sacrifice. Chui Sijiming muttered to himself, chewing over the meaning of these words again and again. While this does make sense, it always feels a little off. Sig raised his hand and flicked her forehead. Don't think too much. The weather is nice today. Do you want to go out and play? Where are you going? The Elf Kingdom has sent an invitation for a meeting. I'm just going to pick someone up, so I can take you with me. Juisajiming lowered her eyes and thought about it, then agreed readily. She had been staying in the temple all day and was almost suffocated. Ivancha Great Forest, Crescent Lake in the Elf Kingdom. The residence of the previous Elf King Deshem Hogan was built nearby. No elf could approach it easily. Even if they accidentally entered, they would have to pay the price with their lives. Since then, after the cruel king disappeared, his concubines also left and no one lived here. Originally, the forest elves had no concept of a country. Outside the royal capital, they gathered in villages. Metal currency was not used in transactions, and most of them were barter. It could be said that their life was quite primitive. Without the control and coercion of the elf king, the forest elves naturally returned to their original state and were isolated from the world. However, what no one expected was that just a few days ago, the dark elf twins brought back a young forest elf Loki with royal blood. The elf king had many descendants, but most of them were sent to the battlefield and few survived. The forest elves initially wanted to find a royal forest elf to symbolically inherit the throne. After all, they still needed to negotiate with the theocracy and could not be leaderless. But in the end, no suitable one was found, so they could only send the strongest guerrilla soldiers to the church. Living in the Elf King's residence at this time are the Dark Elf twins and the Blood Elf King. They have lived here for some time. Lady Aura, you got up a little early today. A male Dark Elf stood not far from the house, his handsome face full of obsession, as if he was looking forward to something. Blueberry Agnia, from the Dark Elf village, is the best guerrilla soldier in the village. Her mission this time is to protect the elders. P.S. Although it's a bit strange, it's called this. The forest elves originally lived in the Ivancha forest, while the dark elves moved from the Tob forest 300 years ago and lived on the edge. Both parties are aware of each other's existence, but have been living their lives without interfering with each other. The sudden connection at this time was due to the appearance of the dark elf royal family. The elders of both sides were discussing who would be the next elf king, but they were stuck in a stalemate. Unexpectedly, Aura and Mare had higher voices than Lucky. Apart from personality, the main reason is that the power they displayed was too strong. Agnia still remembers the powerful and beautiful figure of Aura when she defeated the armored bear. He finally met his first love at the age of 254. While he was fantasizing, Aura had already gone out, followed by Mare and Lucky. All three of them had serious expressions, completely different from before. Then the elders came and gathered together, as if they were waiting for someone. Along with the whistling sound in the sky, two figures fell from the sky. Greetings to Lord Sig/Holy Dragon God. The man was not only handsome, but also exuded an extremely terrifying aura. But what attracted more attention was the girl beside him, with her black and white pupils and pointed elf ears. It turned out to be another royal forest elf. Chapter 184. Sig Adults. After the forest elf greeted them, it retreated, and the two little ones came forward happily. Aura was still running in the front, and Mare was panting behind. After stopping, they both raised their heads and looked at Sig with expectant eyes. Well done, I'm here to pick you up. Sig holds one head in each hand. The smooth and soft hair feels delicate to the touch and is particularly good to rub. Mare said timidly, but we haven't completed the mission yet. Even after changing into men's clothes, Mare still had a weak personality, and was not as suitable for women's clothes. Aura was also a little dejected, but she quickly recovered and spoke with full fighting spirit. Lord Sig, in just 3 days, Mare and I will complete the mission. Sig became interested, tell me what you did here first. Juisajiming also pricked up her ears quietly. She was also very curious about what kind of answer she would get. It was inevitable that Aura and Mare were powerful, but considering their ages, their thinking was definitely not very mature. Aura smiled and pulled over the forest elf who was half a head shorter than her. In fact, Lucky helped us a lot. She is very familiar with this forest. Thanks to her, we were able to find the dark elf village. Lucky waved his hands quickly, no, I was so scared when I met the armored bear that I couldn't help. Mare nodded, indeed, Lucky is even more timid than I am. I'm sorry. A thin layer of red appeared on Lucky's face. He lowered his head and was too embarrassed to speak. After spending many days together, the three elves of similar age became familiar with each other and developed a relationship similar to that of playmates. But because Lucky's level is too low, probably only LV15, such a gap makes it difficult for them to become true friends. Aura and Mare didn't mean to laugh at her, they just couldn't see the problem from each other's perspective. Simply put, there is a lack of empathy. However, for these two little guys, being able to live independently in the elf kingdom for so many days and establishing interpersonal relationships is a real improvement. Sig smiled and said, "So you went to the Dark Elf village first, killed the armored bears, and got the Dark Elf's recognition just like that?" Aura nodded. "It was Mare's idea. That's what I learned during this period of time. I guess it can be considered as imitation." Mare pinched his fingers shyly, needless to say who he was imitating. Sig was a little helpless. He really had taught the child bad things. But Ainz has done this before, so it's not just his fault. Ahem, that's pretty good. What's next? Sig came this time because, on the one hand, Aura and Mare were making slow progress, and on the other hand, the elves also extended an invitation. There is obviously a lot of controversy between the two sides regarding the choice of the Elf King. In order to resolve this matter as quickly as possible and focus on the Dragon King, I had no choice but to make this trip. However, Sig had anticipated this situation. He had never expected Aura and Mare to be able to complete the task, and he had only sent the two of them to train their abilities. In order to prevent the situation from getting out of control, he also specifically instructed that it should be handled peacefully and not to kill the elves. Mare said a little aggrievedly, "We said we wanted Loki to be the Elf King, but they just said they wanted to discuss it. It would have been fine as long as they agreed. My power was clearly given by Master Bubble Teapot, and I am also carrying Master Sig's instructions." As he spoke, Mare's voice choked and a few tears flowed out. Sig quickly handed over a handkerchief, but he didn't expect that he actually made the person cry. Not being allowed to kill elves is indeed too restrictive. With Aura and Mare's strength, it would be no big deal to carry out a reign of terror, but that would be meaningless. "You have performed very well and have successfully passed the test." "Test?" Sig then explained, "Yes, through this mission, I have seen your growth. You are indeed the children of the Bubble Teapot. Ruling by force is the lowest form of life. I need you to learn to think." "Aura and Mare, you didn't let me down." Mare forgot to cry, his eyes sparkled, and Aura's eyes were also sparkling. "Sig adults." The two of them threw themselves into Sig's arms together, their two furry heads leaning over. Sig comforted the two little guys, then turned to look at Lucky, who looked a little lonely. Forest elves and dark elves are both elven races, the former are slender while the latter are very fleshy. The contrast is even more obvious when Lucky and Aura stand together. There is not much flesh on Lucky's cheeks, which makes his eyes look particularly big. His body, especially his waist, is extremely thin, making him look a little frail. "Lucky, come here too." Lucky nodded flattered. Having spent some time in Nazarick, she naturally knew how noble the status of this supreme being was. Sig only said to her seriously, "I will send people to assist you. Aura and Mare will come here often, so work hard to become the queen of the forest elves." Lucky felt a warm current in his heart. It was the feeling of being recognized, and his confused heart seemed to have found its target. For her own sake and to repay a favor, she cannot let anyone down. "I will try my best, Lord Holy Dragon God." After instructing the three little ones, Sig led Juisa to the gathering. The elf elders were still waiting for him. When they arrived at the scene, Sig got straight to the point and promised to give the elves enough freedom and provide protection from the Protestant Kingdom and the Magic Kingdom. The matter of the Elf King was quickly settled. Lucky would become the queen, and Aura and Mare would assist her. The elves had no more objections and agreed readily. Compared to Decameron's brutal rule, this is a pretty good outcome. After quickly solving the problem, Sig and Juisa took a walk in the woods. "After all, I promised to take her out to play, and I can't go back on my word." After walking around for a while, Juisa, who had been silent all this time, finally couldn't help but ask, "Why do you spend so much time on the weak elf kingdom?" Sig said calmly, "This is necessary if you want to conquer the world." Juisa sighed, "It seems that you really did not lie to me. The 8 Desire Kings would never do such a thing. Am I the kind of unforgivable person in your eyes? Hey, aren't you? Then I'm going to play the compulsion game now. This, here, I don't want to play." "Ha ha ha, if you agree, is that still called coercion?" Sig grabbed Juisa arm and kissed her forehead in front of her horrified eyes. "I'm just kidding. Don't seduce me all day long. I'll ruin you." Juisa realized that he had been tricked, and his face instantly turned red. "You are so mean. Any insult that has no offensive power can be considered flirting. Sig smiled and said, "We will soon collect all the human nations, and then we will deal with the Dragon King. Do you want to join us?" Juisi Chuiming was obviously moved. "What do you need me to do?" When leaving, many elves showed up to see him off, including the dark elf named Blueberry Agnia. He watched Aura leave from afar, and his silent crush was about to come to an end. Sig glanced back for no apparent reason and cursed inwardly, "He's a copper smelting addict." That's right, Sig had already discovered the existence of this guy. After all, he appeared in the original book. He is an old man over 200 years old, but he wants to take his own cabbage. How shameless! Hey, should I find a chance to kill him? Chapter 185. The Yaegland Council State, located in the northwestern corner of the continent, is a peninsula surrounded by the sea on three sides. 200 years ago, to be exact, after the war between the demon god and the 13, the demi-humans established this city-state surrounded by mountains. As a multi-ethnic united country, the country adopts a parliamentary system, electing councillors based on ethnicity to carry out management and coordination. Among them, the 5 Dragon Kings, headed by the Platinum Dragon King, are lifelong members of parliament and lead the entire country. A building called Dragon Tower stands on the top of the mountain. It is cylindrical, very wide in diameter, extremely tall, and has an entrance only at the top. This design shows that when the Dragon Tower was first built, entry from below was prohibited, and only those with flying magic or a giant dragon were allowed to enter. A giant emerald green dragon broke through the air and landed accurately on the tower. "Ching Kong, you are late." The dragon that spoke was a giant white dragon. Its scales were like mirrors and it emitted white light all over its body. He was the Diamond Dragon King. The Azure Sky Dragon King grinned, "It took us a little while on the road." "You two, stop chatting." A sharp voice sounded beside my ears, and the Worm Dragon King stretched his head over. His snake-like neck and scarlet scales made him worthy of the name of a worm. The pitch-black Obsidian Dragon King lay in the corner and did not join in the chat. Since then, 4 life counselors have been in place, except for the Platinum Dragon King. For convenience, the Dragon Kings are more accustomed to calling each other by their titles. Their real names are, Sky Dragon King, Spheria Myron Silk, Diamond Dragon King, Ahmade Cycalbris, Obsidian Dragon King, Kason Brute Ukuleles, Worm Dragon King, Zarajil Carrion Ohayant. P.S. The above order is ranked according to strength. In addition, the level of the godlike Captain Kuro is higher than the strongest Blue Sky Dragon King. The 4 Dragon Kings took their seats together, quietly waiting for the arrival of the Platinum Dragon King. The status of lifelong reviewers should be equal, but since they are all ordinary Dragon Kings, they naturally respect the strongest true Dragon King. Although they are colleagues, they are essentially subordinates. "You're all here. Looks like I'm late." The sound of footsteps came closer and closer, and a person walked in. To be on the safe side, the Platinum Dragon King did not send out his true body, but came forward controlling the platinum armor. The Dragon Kings were already used to it, and when the platinum armor took his seat, the Azure Sky Dragon King asked directly, "Master Platinum, are you anxious to discuss something with us?" "Well, it is indeed an important matter." Platinum armor nodded, "Turbulence is coming. The filth this time is particularly strong, and I am not completely sure I can handle it." The Dragon Kings gasped and the room was filled with the rustling sound of scales scraping against the ground. Although they didn't say anything, the Dragon Kings were not calm inside. They moved their bodies quietly, not knowing how to respond. The Obsidian Dragon King asked in a low voice, "So, who is the enemy?" The eyes of the man in the platinum armor glowed red, and his voice was filled with coldness, "The Sorceress Kingdom. The Council Kingdom borders the kingdom, and several dragons have heard of this country that replaced the kingdom." The Worm Dragon King said carelessly, "Master Baijin, just tell us what we should do next. As a subordinate, just follow the boss's arrangements." Although the Worm Dragon King is the weakest, his brain is one of the best. This is indeed the case. High-level battles are not something they can participate in, so there is no need to think so much about it. The Platinum Armor stood up and gave a serious order, "From today on, the Council of States will enter a state of full war preparation. Everyone must be on high alert. The Council of States may be attacked at any time." "Yes. That's all we can do now." Thousands of miles away, the Platinum Dragon King sighed softly. This was the only arrangement he could make. The Council State was just a country he established to protect the guild weapons of the 8 Desire Kings, and it was not very important. In the Far East, that is where his main power lies. While the Platinum Dragon King was thinking, a playful female voice came from the front. "Oh, Charles, am I here at a bad time?" I heard his voice before I saw him. The Platinum Dragon King felt a little more relaxed, and the corners of his mouth rose unconsciously. Because only friends would call him Char, dragons were used to calling each other by that title. An old human woman appeared. She was one of the 13 heroes, the undead messenger Ligulet Becca's Kalau. "Ligulet, please stop making fun of me. I'm having enough headaches right now." Ligulet shrugged. "I've been running around collecting information for you, and you don't even appreciate it." "Ha ha ha, how could I not appreciate it?" The man and the dragon laughed at the same time. "This is the tacit understanding between old friends." Ligulet said, "Stop joking. I've visited all the countries except the theocracy. Currently, many Death Knights have appeared in the Empire and the Dragon Kingdom. They should have been controlled by the Sorceress Kingdom." The Platinum Dragon King sighed, "It's too late after all." "What's the situation in the Holy Kingdom?" Ligulet said, "According to the information I got, the Holy Kingdom seems to have had a conflict with the Sorceress Kingdom. I haven't found out the details yet, and you called me back. By the way, why don't you let me go to the church? There seems to be a drastic change in that country. I heard some news without even asking around." The Platinum Dragon King then told the Dark Dragon King about his request. "The church is a filthy force. I didn't expect it to be destroyed so easily." Ligulet also realized that the turmoil this time was obviously more severe than before, so she suggested, "Can we continue to ask for help from other Dragon Kings?" It was difficult. It took me a lot of effort to get Chang'an to agree to help. The Platinum Dragon King insisted on asking the Dark Dragon King to go and get the news. In fact, he had his own little thoughts. He wanted the other party to stand on the same front with him. It's a pity that the other party obviously didn't fall for it and went home directly. The Platinum Dragon King's eyes were firm. "If it comes to a last resort, we can only wake her up from her sleep at the bottom of the sea city. The girl waiting in the dream, although she is on the side of the world, is actually more neutral. By the way, Crybaby seems to have discovered the trace of the true Dragon King, and the location is in the Angelicia Mountains." When Ligulet passed through the Sorceress Kingdom, she met with Ibrua and briefly exchanged information, and happened to learn this information. The Platinum Dragon King was also confused. Are there any characteristics? He should be the only true Dragon King in the northwest corner of the continent. He emits colorful light and seems to enjoy mating with monsters. He is very famous in that mountain range. The Platinum Dragon King widened his eyes and almost shouted, "Gcai, that idiot!" The colorful Dragon King who was entrenched in the old capital of the dwarves rubbed his nose, and he actually had the urge to sneeze. With nothing to do, he lowered his eyes and looked at the ninja girl waiting in the corner. "Hey, are you interested in having a child with me?" Chapter 186. The Sorceress Kingdom has carried out a major reform of the Adventurers Guild, significantly increasing salaries and benefits, reducing trivial commissions, and aiming to explore the unknown. This move not only attracted a large number of workers from various countries and brought in fresh blood, but also made the adventurers more active. About a week ago, the Adventurers Guild issued a mission to explore the Angelicia Mountains, which was only open to steel-level teams. The cause of the incident was that someone discovered the traces of a dragon, and the number of Quagoa was drastically reduced. The Overlord who left the mountains and joined the Sorceress Kingdom confirmed this statement, causing quite a stir for a while. As a veteran steel-level adventure team, King Qiangwei was first recommended by the Adventurers Guild president, who highly praised their strength and even displayed a handwritten letter of introduction from the Holy Dragon King. It certainly looked like Sig's handwriting, but it was actually forged by Demiurge, but the others obviously didn't know that. King Qiangwei was hesitant at first, but after getting enough information from Shuanglong, she finally took on the task. Ibrua still couldn't help but complain, "It's really troublesome." Logis was very excited and even shamelessly asked for the letter of introduction and added it to her own collection. The ninja twins didn't have any objections, as they always put Logis first. Gagran smiled and said, "Then let's set off quickly." The expected danger did not occur, and the group arrived at the place where the dragon appeared very smoothly. The seven-colored Dragon King showed no desire to attack. He had expected King Qiangwei's arrival, which was planned in advance. But the timing of the meeting was obviously not right, because the seven-colored Dragon King was busy having in-depth communication with the Frost Giant. Kang Qiangwei and the other four were forced to watch a dragon movie and almost poked their own eyes out. The seven-colored Dragon King was a little embarrassed after the act. He didn't mind being caught during mating, but he was worried that it would ruin the whole thing. If he really failed, Demiurge alone would be scary enough. The seven-colored Dragon King stayed here alone for a while and finally figured out his position. They had to surrender. After all, Nazarick's strength was there, and anyone with a clear mind would not go against them. But he also didn't want to be a sinner of the Dragon Clan and kill all his fellow dragons. Then there is only one way. Since we can't resist, why don't we all surrender? This is exactly the inspiration that Sig got from accepting the Frost Dragon King as his follower. The dragon race can totally coexist with the dirty aliens. The seven-colored Dragon King then showed his goodwill. Kang Qiangwei didn't dare to say anything due to the Dragon King's strength, and the communication afterwards was quite smooth. Apart from the unexpected perversion, the information I got from the Frost Dragon that the seven-colored Dragon King would not actively attack was indeed not very dangerous. In order to report the mission status first, Kang Qiangwei left one person here to guard, and the rest returned to the Magic Kingdom first. Me. Facing the dragon's invitation, Tia, who was wearing a blue headband, was obviously stunned for a moment and declined politely, "Sorry, I am ALN, and the size difference between us is too big." This was obviously an excuse, but it successfully aroused the scholar's soul in the seven-colored Dragon King, and he was really interested in explaining it. In order to be able to mate with various races, I have researched a magic that can adjust the size freely. Its name is KK. Shut up! A roar came from the sky, and 4 weapons floated around the platinum armor. He raised his hand, magical light flashing, a gesture to launch an attack. "This aura, are you platinum?" The seven-colored Dragon King grinned. "As a fellow Dragon King, there's no need for you to be like this." Although he said so, he also mobilized the energy of the River of Souls, ready to launch colorful rays to block the attack at any time. "Hey, Bian, what do you want to do as a liar?" Ibrua floated in the air, hands on hips, and shouted to stop the conflict. She was coming back to pick up Tia, but she didn't expect to see the scene. What happened to the seven-colored Dragon King had nothing to do with her, but fighting him here would hurt her companions, which was something she didn't want to see. The platinum armor turned around and asked, "Destroy the country." Ibrua was a little angry. "Don't call me by my nickname. My current name is Ibrua. We once fought together, but you really don't care about your companion's current situation at all." The platinum armor was silent. He simply put away his weapon, lowered his head and said, "Sorry." The seven-colored Dragon King was watching the show with great interest. The proud Platinum Dragon King was actually being so humble. This little vampire was really good at it. But soon, the platinum armor turned its spearhead towards him again. "KK, we need to talk." A dragon and a suit of armor sat opposite each other, and the atmosphere was extremely solemn. Ibrua coughed lightly and said, "Two true Dragon Kings, we can talk now." The seven-colored Dragon King asked, "True Dragon King? That's a good title. Where did it come from?" Platinum armor sneered, "The church calls the Dragon King who can use the original magic the true Dragon King, which means the real Dragon King. This is just a narrow recognition. I think it's pretty good. This way we can distinguish the differences between the Dragon Kings." "So you agree with filth?" "If you think so, I can't help it." The two dragons were obviously not on the same wavelength when talking, and the talks were about to break down if they disagreed. Ibrua coughed lightly and said, "Silver Knight, if you have anything to ask, just ask now and don't waste your words." The platinum armor coldly questioned, "KK, answer me, why are you here? Have you already betrayed me?" This place is too close to the Magic Kingdom, so it's no wonder that the Platinum Dragon King had preconceived ideas and wanted to take action right away. "How is that possible?" "I'm here to get information." The seven-colored Dragon King's psychological quality was also very good, and he did not reveal any flaws. He sighed and said, "It's about my great-granddaughter. I found out that she is with the Holy Dragon King of the Magic Kingdom." "What?" Platinum Armor and Ibrua shouted at the same time, but their surprise was obviously different. Ibrua gritted her teeth. She knew that Sig was indeed a playboy. It was really not worth it that the team leader still liked him. What surprised Platinum Armor was that the descendants of the Dragon King combined with filth, which simply polluted the bloodline. Ligulet needed to inquire from many sources and had been in the Dragon Kingdom for a very short time, so she regarded the news as a rumor and did not report it. The Platinum Dragon King naturally didn't know about this, but since the Seven-Colored Dragon King said it at this time, it meant it was true. The Seven-Colored Dragon King pretended to sigh, but in fact he had not cared about it for a long time and was even glad to have this relationship. Calculating the time, the turbulence is about to strike, so I have no choice but to come and investigate in person. The man in platinum armor said solemnly, "You guessed correctly. The Sorceress Kingdom is indeed a filthy force. The Holy Dragon King should be an important figure. I can't see through his mind." Ibrua was confused by what she heard. She looked at Tia and saw confusion in each other's eyes. She finally couldn't help but speak, "But, this time, it was the Holy Dragon King who sent us here. Why did he go to so much trouble to facilitate a meeting between the two true Dragon Kings?" The Platinum Dragon King surveyed the surroundings in advance and found no enemy ambushes, so Sig's move was somewhat intriguing. Is it to deliver a message? That should be it. Beads of sweat the size of beans appeared on the forehead of the Seven-Colored Dragon King. He looked calm on the surface, but he was really panicking inside. This was not in his script. What on earth does Nazarick want to do? Chapter 187. The Holy Temple of the Religious Nation, VIP Reception Room. At the same time as the Seven-Colored Dragon King and the Platinum Dragon King met successfully, a guest also arrived in the Church Kingdom as promised. After receiving Sig's reply letter wanting to meet, the Holy Queen did not hesitate and set off quickly. Although this move was somewhat risky, the situation in the Holy Kingdom was becoming increasingly critical, and the civil war was on the verge of breaking out. In order to prevent the people from being dragged into the dire straits of the war, it even evolved into fratricide. Karl really didn't want to see that kind of situation, so he came here without hesitation, hoping that this trip would give him a way out. At this moment, she sat upright in the chair without any unnecessary movements, maintaining the dignity of a queen. Although she appeared calm on the surface, she was actually a little uneasy inside. In order to maintain the most perfect state, she didn't dare to change her movements at will, so as not to cause the conversation to fail due to such details. Kuirat did not come. She had to stabilize the situation during the period when the Holy Queen was away, so she could only hand over this task to a more suitable person. The more suitable person was obviously Pavel, who had a friendship with the Holy Dragon God. Karko turned his head and smiled softly, "Thank you very much, Master Pavel." Pavel nodded. "Your Majesty, you are too polite. This is my duty." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of a door opening. Karko stood up, his lips curled up into a perfect smile. "Your Majesty the Holy Dragon God, I am glad to see you at last." As the treasure of the Holy Kingdom, needless to say, her appearance is also top-notch among humans, and she is a beauty on the same level as Princess Lana. But what is more eye-catching is her outfit, which is so exquisite that even down to the hair. Her delicate and fair skin seems to be as smooth as a baby's, and her body is emitting a soft light. She was wearing a long skirt with a high slit that revealed the white stockings on her legs. She looked holy yet a little seductive, and her gentle eyes diluted this feeling. This is the most standard saint. Compared with her, Clementine seems more like a heretic. However, it is understandable that the Holy Queen can win the love of the people with her appearance. Sig smiled and replied, "Your Majesty Basaraz, it's been a long time. You can call me by my name. Holy Dragon King and Holy Dragon God are meaningless titles." Karki's heart was beating like a drum, and she was also shocked. If she were asked to rank the most handsome men, this guy would definitely be number one, and the handsome Blood Emperor would not be even half as good as him. Although a man's appearance is not as important as his talent, after all, who doesn't like a handsome and talented man? Especially for those who are eager to get married, this is tantamount to direct temptation. Of course, Karko did not forget the business. She managed her expression very well and nodded slightly, "Your Majesty Sigli, thank you for your trouble. Let's talk business next." Sig raised his hand to make a gesture of invitation, and said with a smile, "I am very clear about your Majesty's purpose, and I can indeed help with this matter." Really? Karko really wanted to ask this directly, but as a holy king she certainly couldn't be so rude. Moreover, as the one asking for help, you have to be humble. She raised her hand to her chest and said sincerely, "As long as we can resolve the misunderstanding with the Sorceress Kingdom, the Holy Kingdom is willing to pay any price, and I will not embarrass your Majesty." Although the Holy Kingdom lost nearly 50,000 soldiers, they were not in the right and were not as strong as the Sorceress Kingdom, so the only option they had was to ask for forgiveness. At any cost. Sig seemed to be thinking about the weight of this sentence and asked again. Carco nodded, and she added, as long as it is within the Holy Kingdom's capabilities and does not harm the people, it will be fine whether it is money or minerals. It is also fine for me to apologize in person. Then I want you, Your Majesty. No, this won't work. Carl stood up suddenly and immediately refused. This holy dragon god looks very handsome, but how could he be so rude to make such a request on our first meeting? Sig couldn't help laughing. Haha, I just want you to cooperate with me to do one thing, Your Majesty, I don't have any other ideas. Hey? Hey? Carl then reacted and recalled the conversation just now. Sig did not finish what he said. She was the one who overreacted. She tried to remain dignified in her demeanor, but her cheeks were already red. Sorry. Sig did not dwell on the matter. He continued the previous topic. The Sorcerer King and I are old acquaintances, but he is somewhat dissatisfied with my support for the theocracy. So even though it's possible to strike up a conversation, it still requires a suitable occasion. Carco was already filled with shame. She just nodded stupidly and asked subconsciously, what's the occasion? Your Majesty, the Holy Kingdom is not very stable at the moment. These words made Carl feel cold from head to toe, and his mind suddenly became clear. A spy? She looked at Pavel beside her, but saw nothing unusual. Sig explained directly, I am also very concerned about your country. The Church has an agency dedicated to collecting intelligence. Among the 6 sacred books that protect the country, Fuka and Swime are dedicated to collecting intelligence. When Carl thought about it carefully, he realized that she was really too paranoid and almost wrongly accused a loyal minister. Now that the truth has been revealed, it would be hypocritical to hide it any further, so it is better to be honest. Sure enough, I can't hide it from Your Majesty Sigli. I came here to seek help. Please give me some advice. Sig stated the ultimate goal, let's hold a joint fighting competition in the Holy Kingdom. Carco asked tentatively, Your Majesty means to resolve grievances through competitive fighting, which is indeed a good idea, but why must it be in this form? Well, this is indeed a problem, and it cannot be directly said that it was Demiurge's suggestion. This move was essentially to set the stage for the Dragon King to appear, and the rest were just excuses. However, all the people in the Holy Kingdom are soldiers, and the people must be very tough, so it should be very appropriate to promote the arena. Sig then explained his reasons. Foreign conflicts need to be negotiated, and domestic conflicts need to be diverted. Isn't this the solution to combine the two? Carco fell into deep thought, considering the feasibility of this matter. It's a good idea, but I can't agree to it right now. Please allow me to think about it for a week. No, 3 days. 3 days will be enough. Sig picked up the teapot on the table and poured her a glass of water. Don't worry, moisten your throat first. There is really no need to be too anxious at this time. The initial publicity is very necessary, otherwise how can you catch the big fish? Carl was stunned for a moment, then she realized that her voice had changed due to excessive nervousness. She thanked him and picked up the teacup to take a sip. Your Majesty, I have a question, why do you want to help the Holy Kingdom? Sig sighed lightly, his eyes showing 3 parts sorrow, 4 parts compassion and 3 parts reluctance. Maybe it's because I don't want to see lives go in vain. Most people would definitely not believe this statement because the reason is too fake. But for the real Virgin Mary, Carl was believable, and her eyes lit up. Your Majesty, it turns out that we are the same kind of people. Chapter 188. Your Majesty Sig, thank you so much this time. Carco's smile was very bright, and it was obvious that he was happy from the bottom of his heart. Sig smiled and nodded, Your Majesty Carco, don't be so polite. Perhaps because they had made themselves clear, everything went smoothly afterwards. From the way they addressed each other, it could be seen that the two of them were indeed having a very pleasant conversation. I have a private matter I want to ask Your Majesty, I wonder if it's okay. Carl raised his eyes slightly, his heart beating fast. He was so elegant and had similar interests. He was simply the perfect candidate for marriage. She opened her thin lips slightly, and was about to ask about the other party's emotional state, but unexpectedly the door was suddenly pushed open. Oops, it seems I came at the wrong time. Chui Sijiming walked in, and the first thing that caught his eye was that pretty face. Although he was smiling, his aggression was obvious. In Sig's words, it is a wild cat, cute and possessive, and its petite body can burst out with extremely powerful strength. The JK girl following behind him poked her head out timidly, greetings to the holy dragon god. The appearance of astrology Kyunli here has made its effect very obvious. Sig sighed helplessly. It seemed that his conversation with the holy queen had been spied on the whole time. Although Chui Sijiming said he didn't care, he actually still cared a lot. It was indeed a bit reckless to show up suddenly, but Sig was not going to pursue it at this time. If a woman does something wrong out of jealousy, she should get it back when they are alone together. This is the right choice. Sig took the initiative to introduce, you came at the right time. This is Her Majesty Karko Basaras of the Holy Kingdom. She is a god of the church. Karl looked at the girl in front of him in surprise, the legendary god. The Holy Kingdom and the theocracy have similar beliefs and worship the same four great gods. For them, the divine man who has awakened the divine blood is the existence closest to God, so it is no wonder that Karl was so surprised. P.S. Most people in the church have the blood of God, but only those who return to their ancestors are called gods. Chui Sijiming walked over and sat next to Sig, saying calmly, I am Chui Sijiming, and it is an honor to meet Her Majesty the Queen. Karl was acutely aware of the change in atmosphere, and his sixth sense alarm started ringing. I'm honored too. The two of you seem to have a good relationship. Sig did not give a direct answer, but only said, it is indeed good. Chui Sijiming showed a death smile, darling, do you want to just pull up your pants and ignore me? When these words came out, Pavel beside him almost couldn't hold back and secretly gave him a thumbs up. Lord Holy Dragon God is really strong. He dares to tease other women in his lover's territory. After just one meeting, he had already twisted the Saint King's daughter into such a state. Karko's face turned red. She felt embarrassed and annoyed. She subconsciously looked at Sig's face, hoping to get an answer. Sig showed no emotion, but simply said, don't talk nonsense. Chui Sijiming snorted, but didn't make any more trouble. She also knew when to stop. Karl breathed a sigh of relief. As long as she didn't admit it, she would still have a chance. Your Excellency Chui Sijiming, are you here to report something important? It was just a momentary impulse, and I didn't know how to answer this question at this moment. Sig took the initiative to come to the rescue and said, I asked her to come. For this joint fighting, the candidate of the church is Chui Sijiming. Karko nodded. So His Majesty has already made arrangements. I will go back and discuss it with the temple and give you a reply as soon as possible. Although the Holy Kingdom is not a religious country, it has always been governed jointly by the Holy King and the temple forces. In this generation, the highest priest, Kwalat, is the right-hand man of the Holy Queen, and the relationship between the two is even closer. Even though Karko is the queen, she cannot make decisions independently. Sig said sincerely, I tried my best to make this happen, and I also had my own selfish motives. The theocracy suffered a heavy blow from Jaldabaoth, and its strength and power are no longer as strong as before. In particular, the morale of the people is very low. In order to appease the people and rebuild their confidence, replacing war with competition is the best way at present. Faced with these sincere words, Karko obviously believed in this plan more, and she looked moved. How could someone who serves the country and the people like this be someone with ulterior motives? Your Majesty Sig, I will do my best to make this happen. Sig slowly raised the corners of his mouth, finally it worked. When Karl left, he was reluctant to leave and left a silk handkerchief with the Holy Kingdom emblem on it to Sig as a souvenir. Your Majesty, we will meet again soon. Please don't forget me. This action really pd off Chui Sijiming, and he insisted on taking the silk handkerchief and destroying it. Sig also gave it to her, but the way he gave it was a little different. You want a child, so use this to stop it from flowing out. Chui Sijiming was shocked by this way of playing, and his mouth was blocked before he could even say the word no. This is your punishment for being jealous. You can't refuse. The next day came in a blink of an eye, and Chui Sijiming, who was tired after a night of sleep, was still sleeping in bed. Not using potions to restore strength is also part of the punishment. The poor handkerchief has been restored and is no different from when it was first received. Sig only came to the church for a short stay this time and did not bring a maid with him. Ever since he agreed to Nabe and Lupus Regina's confession, he still doesn't know how to face the maids. Since Shizu is a child, there is no taboo, but it's hard to say for others. He really liked the two of them, but this was just a temporary measure as it was difficult to refuse. But his favoritism should not affect the relationship among the 7 sisters, and the 2 of them were not arranged to sleep with each other, but it was only a matter of time. Forget it, let's take it one step at a time. Sig put on his clothes and prepared to open the window to ventilate. But just as he approached, a red shadow pounced on him, followed by a sharp cry of ouch. Sig realized that it was an acquaintance, and the dragon claws on his hands quietly faded away. He directly took off the mask of the person in front of him and lifted her up by one hand. Ibrua, what are you doing? Let me go. Ibrua struggled continuously and finally gained his freedom and took back his mask. With Sig's strength, it would be easy for him to resist, but he didn't do so. Now tell me why you've intruded into my private quarters. Who wants to break in? Ibrua straightened his clothes and explained, I came here because someone asked me to. The intrusion was just a mistake because I flew for too long. Sig nodded, reluctantly accepting the statement. In order to ease her embarrassment, Ibrua immediately changed the subject, but what's the smell in your room? It's so strange. Sig was speechless, what else can I do in the dormitory? There's someone lying on the bed. Don't be ridiculous. Aren't you with the Queen of the Dragon Kingdom? As soon as Ibrua finished speaking, he noticed breathing sounds in the room. There was indeed another person here. Scum. SHH, I just want to give them a home. This is pure love. Chapter 189. What you up to? Ibrua, who was taken to another room, had not yet recovered from the previous embarrassment. She kept her legs tightly together, clasped her hands in front of her chest, and showed a defensive posture. Sig took out a bottle of drink from the space. You must be thirsty after traveling for so long, I'll give it to you. Ibrua's nose trembled slightly, she smelled blood. Do you know that I'm a vampire? I do know, but it's not blood, just a drink that tastes similar. Blood is not a necessity for vampires. Sucking blood is just a hobby. They like to drink it just because it tastes good. Ibrua hesitated for a while before taking off his mask and taking small sips from the cup. I didn't expect that you really came from the same place as the leader. He also has a similar storage space. Oh, is the leader of the 13 heroes also a player? Players? That's what you should call them. That liar said you were filth. Ibrua stuck out his tongue to lick the liquid from the corner of his mouth, feeling a little unsatisfied. Sig directly refilled her glass and continued to ask, now tell me who asked you to come. The liar, is the Silver Knight. He wants to talk to you alone and asked me to pass the message to you. It's rare that the Platinum Dragon King wants to see me. Pfft, how do you know his identity? Ibrua was so shocked that he spat out the drink in his mouth, making a mess all over his body. Sig cast the cleansing magic and leaned back on the sofa in a more comfortable position. I have seen the Silver Knight. He has a very similar aura to the dragon that spied on me. And you admitted it just now after I tricked you. Ibrua clenched her fists angrily. This person was deliberately trying to trick her. He was so insidious. Anyway, I've already passed on the message. Do you want to meet with him? See you, but not now. Why? The time and place are wrong. Let him pay more attention to the situation in the Holy Kingdom. Sig's mysterious words made Ibrua very confused. She naturally couldn't figure out what was going on. If you want to communicate, be direct. You're being too slow. Sig laughed in silence. Only the one who destroyed the country dared to confront him directly, but conspiracies are always complicated and lead to misunderstandings. You just need to tell me what I said, and there's no need to say anything else. Ibrua thought about it and realized that this was indeed the case, so he nodded in agreement. Well, I have another question. Are you really an evil being? The Platinum Dragon King popularized the horrors of filth, but Ibrua had not experienced that dark time. Her understanding of players is all based on their leader, Rick, who can definitely be called a hero. Although Sig has a bad personality, he has never done anything bad and has even saved many people. Ibrua wanted to get an answer for himself as to what the truth was. Agreeing to help the Platinum Dragon King did not mean that she would completely stand on his side. She was just keeping her promise with Ligulet. I just like to play tricks on people. I can't say I'm evil. Sig's answer was obviously irrelevant, but Ibrua's eyes lit up. So, the Sorcerer King is evil. Sig really wants to ask, if you are an undead who destroys a country, is it really okay to be so malicious towards your own kind? But think about it, in the eyes of the people, he is really a good guy, while Ainz is seen as an evil and powerful magic caster. Sig asked casually, "Why do you think so?" Ibaru snorted. "That dragon guessed that you were in league with the Sorcerer King. He was just pretending to deceive people, but I, mainly Logis." She refused to believe it. "Although you have evil intentions, you are still much better than the Sorcerer King. He must have coerced you." Sig tried hard to hold back his laughter. In terms of personality, he was much worse than Ainz. Ainz was often forced to do things, but Sig took the initiative to find solutions and often got together with Xiaodai to discuss doing bad things. The current situation has a lot to do with him. He can't be the only one to gain a good reputation. Next time, it's time for Ainz to play the good guy. But Sig couldn't speak for Ainz at this time, and could only say ambiguously, "Good and evil are not closely related to race. Those who seem to be righteous are not necessarily good people, and the undead are not necessarily bad people." "You said so, Platinum Dragon King." The fluctuations of the remote monitoring magic were too obvious for Sig to ignore. Fortunately, the dormitory is equipped with shielding magic, otherwise there would be no privacy at all. Ibaru's reaction was even more intense. She stood up angrily, "What? That damn dragon lied to me again. Angelica Mountains. Sure enough, I was discovered again." The caught Platinum Dragon King sighed helplessly. This was the second time he was caught while peeking since the last time. The seven-colored Dragon King asked curiously, "Did the little vampire you sent fail in his mission?" "She saw someone, but my surveillance was also discovered." "He should have a very high level of anti-detection skills." The seven-colored Dragon King secretly complained in his heart that he didn't even dare to provoke that madman, so it was not normal to be discovered. The platinum armor turned around and said, "Kake, now that the filth is strong, your great-granddaughter has obviously been deceived. Do you want to form an alliance with me? But there are only two of us, so we are a bit outnumbered." The seven-colored Dragon King seemed to be considering it seriously, but in fact he was trying to dissuade the person from doing so. He couldn't explain it too clearly. The Platinum Dragon King said to himself, "And Chang'an, I will seek his help." The seven-colored Dragon King had no choice but to agree, "Okay, I can help you, but don't hold your hopes too high. You know I'm not good at fighting." The Platinum Dragon King did not expect the seven-colored Dragon King to charge into battle. It was already a great honor that this sly dragon was willing to help. The seven-colored Dragon King asked again, "But what should we do next? The filth is only active in the dark, and we can't take the initiative to attack." Faced with the second secret persuasion to quit, it was obviously of no use. The Platinum Armor said coldly, "The Holy Kingdom will be the breakthrough point. Next, I will hide my identity and sneak in. You stay nearby and be ready to support me at any time. Don't worry about my combat power. I will come in person." At this point, as the top combat force of the Dragon Clan, the Platinum Dragon King can no longer be timid. If even he is unwilling to take action, the other Dragon Kings will just wait and see, allowing filth to destroy the world. If they failed, they would have no choice but to abandon the Council Nation's outpost and flee back to the base camp with the guild weapons. This was their last resort. But before that, Kake, how are you going to deal with your offspring? She has inherited the blood of the dragon, so there is no guarantee that she will not be exploited, causing the origin magic to be leaked. The original magic is the last remaining treasure of the Dragon Clan and must not fall into the hands of the filth. Although the Platinum Dragon King has a kind and compassionate personality, he can also show a cold and ruthless side when facing enemies that threaten the world. This is true for companions, and even more so for others. The existence of Drodilin is no secret, the Church has already investigated it, and the Platinum Dragon King naturally knows about it as well. The colorful Dragon King was obviously stunned for a moment. If the Platinum Dragon King hadn't mentioned it, he would have almost forgotten that the origin magic had been leaked by him a long time ago. If you think about it, the crime of causing the theft of the original magic seems even more notorious. Kake, are you listening to me? The seven-colored Dragon King felt sweat on his forehead. Since she was his great-granddaughter, it was okay for her to take the blame. "Haha, I'm just thinking about how to deal with it. For now, forget about that little girl. She can use the origin magic because she is born with supernatural powers. Her own strength is very weak." The Platinum Dragon King's scrutinizing eyes shot over through the platinum armor. He finally said nothing more, "Forget it, whatever you want." Chapter 190. Dragon Kingdom, Queen's Bedroom. Master Sig, this isn't possible. The Prime Minister looked at the woman on the bed who kept making obscene noises with a dark face. It was hard to imagine that she was the king of the country. Ever since the Dragon Kingdom was taken over by the Magic Kingdom, Rod Island has become increasingly idle. He sleeps until noon every day and has handed over all official duties to others. Without the threat of orcs, and with the protection of the undead on the streets, the people's lives are indeed much better. Rod Island also liberated her nature and basically never turned back into a Lolita. She openly put on her treasured sexy dresses. Her long black hair falls like a waterfall, her pair of breasts are indeed proud, and she has long and voluptuous thighs. According to incomplete statistics, Drodilan's popularity among men has increased a lot compared to before, and even many adventurers have fallen at the feet of the queen. Apart from those who are jealous, only those special enthusiasts who love young girls will be disappointed. For example, the core figure of the Crystal Tiers of the Steel Level Adventurer team, Flash Celebra. Your Majesty, it's time to get up. This may seem rude, but in fact, it is impossible to wake them up without such a loud voice. Rod Island smacked her lips and turned over, revealing the ruby ring on her ring finger. The Prime Minister could no longer tolerate this and directly used his ultimate move. Master Sig is here. Where? Rod Island sat up suddenly, his mind woke up before he opened his eyes. The Prime Minister clapped his hands and stepped aside. Someone, help the Queen change her clothes. Two maids pushed the door open and walked in. Greetings, Your Majesty. Only then did Delo DeLong realize that he had been tricked again. However, the sun was already high outside and it was indeed time to get up. She walked barefoot on the cold floor and let the maid change her clothes. I had only changed half of my clothes when I heard a notification from outside. Your Majesty, the Sorceress Kingdom has sent an envoy, and he has already arrived. Drodilan could not hide her excitement. She urged the maid to put on her clothes quickly, then she trotted out with her skirt lifted up. The messenger only saw a dark shadow passing by and exclaimed, Her Majesty the Queen is still as agile as ever. The Chancellor appeared behind him, like a ghost. Who is the messenger? So it's the Prime Minister. I'm not sure. He just said his name is Eli. Eli. Lord Sig, you finally came to see me. After sending the servants away, Rod Island pushed open the door and threw herself into the man's arms. Her hair, which had just been braided, became disheveled and fell to the ground. Sig lifted up her round buttocks, picked her up in a princess-like posture, and placed her on the sofa. My queen, how did you know it was me? In order to hide his whereabouts, he used his previous pseudonym and wore a mask to cover his face, but he was discovered as soon as they met. Rod Island then noticed Sig's outfit, her face turned red, and her chest swelled up as she moved. So you want to role-play? Sig took off his mask, revealing that familiar face. Are you that impatient? Rod Island, because I missed you so much, I didn't say goodbye properly. Their lips and teeth intertwined, the hot and intense kiss caused Delo DeLong to gasp repeatedly. With slender hands, she took off her stockings, lifted up her skirt, and the ribbon slipped off her shoulders, revealing a glimpse of spring. Master Sig, can I do it now? No, let's talk business first. Rod Island became disheveled. She let Sig tidy up her clothes, but her eyes were still full of confusion. Sig smiled and said, Your great-grandfather is currently working for me. He told me that there is a true Dragon King who wants to harm you, so I came to pick you up in person. To be honest, this time it was really urgent. After Ibarua left, Sig came directly here. Normally, there's no need to bother him with such matters, but after all, he hasn't seen Delo DeLong for a long time, so he decided to come in person to show his respect. Great-grandfather. Drodilan was very surprised. This was really a strange thing. Dragons are not social animals and have weak kinship relationships. This is especially true for the seven-colored Dragon King, who even ignores the country he founded himself. Rod Island knew clearly that even if the Dragon Kingdom was destroyed by the orcs, her great-grandfather might not show up, so she asked for help so anxiously. Sig said, It's a long story. Do you want to know the truth? Rod Island looked into those serious eyes, her fingers unconsciously touching the ruby ring. She quietly swallowed her saliva. Lord Sig, can I know? Although Rod Island likes Sig very much, she also understands that their relationship is mixed with interests, and they have not spent much time together to cultivate feelings. When she was in the middle of it, she really wanted to be together no matter what, but after thinking about it for a while, she gradually calmed down. An uncertain relationship may be the best choice. Sig smiled and gathered up de Rod Island's long hair. I will be responsible for you, but you will not be my only wife. I hope you can consider it. For a queen of a country, being a concubine is indeed an insult. But it was impossible for the man in front of her to have only one wife, and she knew this clearly. Delong was actually moved, but her final reserve prevented her from giving a direct answer. If I don't agree, then I won't be able to know the truth. Sig smiled, then let me explain it to you first. What he wanted to say was very simple, something about the seven-colored Dragon King and some of the truth about the Sorceress Kingdom in Nazarick. Delong accepted it quite quickly. In fact, it didn't matter what the seven-colored Dragon King became. She was more concerned about Sig's identity. So Sig-sama and the Sorcerer King are actually in cahoots? And you're even stronger than my great-grandfather. Yes. It's unbelievable. Sig held out his hand. So, you want to be my harem? After Drodillan figured it out, he simply handed over his right hand with the ring on it. She is not a hesitant person by nature. What's more, not only can she get a big support, but she can also get an excellent husband. It's a great deal. In fact, I already promised you that you would always protect me in the future, but you didn't notice. Sig couldn't help laughing. Delong was really similar to the seven-colored Dragon King. It wasn't awkward at all and he accepted the current situation very quickly. Seeing that the matter was settled, Drodillan squeezed Sig's hand and said, well, we can start now. She was really anxious after eating a light diet for so long. Wait, there is one more thing. I want you to help study the origin magic. Of course I can. My great-grandfather wanted to teach me once, but he left after he found out that I could only copy the origin magic and needed to sacrifice a living person. Talking about this, Delong was visibly disappointed. She also wanted to become a real Dragon King and protect the people, but she just couldn't do it. Sig lifted her face. It's okay, come back to the Sorceress Kingdom with me, it's safer there. De Rod Island nodded and leaned into his broad arms. Lord Sig, please let me forget my troubles. Well, as you wish. Chapter 191. Your Majesty, are you still there? Several hours had passed and there was still no movement in the house. The Prime Minister could no longer hold back. It's the Prime Minister, come in. The sound coming from it was quite normal, and didn't sound like it was being coerced. However, after a long time together, de Rod Island only speaks in this tone when she is thinking about men. When the Prime Minister thought of that scene, he shuddered inexplicably, and the scene when he opened the door confirmed his thoughts. Delong was lying on the man's legs, her hair was disheveled and there was still a blush on her face. Fortunately, her clothes were still intact, and her long legs were swinging casually. The Prime Minister immediately knelt down and said, Your Majesty, the Holy Dragon King, I am sorry for the insolence. It's okay, get up and talk. The Prime Minister slowly got up and realized that it was actually him who had come. Fortunately, he reacted quickly. I don't know why Your Majesty has come here, but I have been following your plan. Please rest assured. After Demiurge formulated the basic national policy for the Dragon Kingdom, he left to deal with the affairs of the theocracy, leaving all matters to the Prime Minister. There are not many people available in the Dragon Kingdom, and the Prime Minister is one of them. Although de Rod Island was a very responsible queen and was diligent in governing the country, her talent was really too ordinary. In addition, as she is Lord Sig's concubine, it is not advisable to let her work too hard. Based on various considerations, this burden naturally fell on the Prime Minister, who worked conscientiously and did not dare to be negligent in the slightest. Now, facing Sig's sudden arrival, although he was panicked, he was not to the point of losing his composure. Sig smiled and said, I believe in your ability. I came here to pick up Delodalon. A true Dragon King has set his sights on her. Could it be the seven-colored Dragon King? Oh, how could you guess it was him? What do you think of the true Dragon King? The Prime Minister wiped the sweat from his forehead, pondered for a while, and then said, It's hard to say what I think. Dragons are the most arrogant race. They symbolize power and destruction, and are cold rulers. Although Lord Seven-Colored Dragon King has combined with humans to establish the Dragon Kingdom, his existence is not that important to the people. Many people are even dissatisfied with him for not saving people in danger. This statement may be meant to flatter Sig, but it is also true. It is really hard to say whether dragons are good or bad, and they cannot be evaluated using human values. Rod Island smiled and said, "That's true, but the Holy Dragon gives people a completely different feeling. It's probably because of Lord Sig. The dragon that can be controlled, coupled with Ostera's gentle appearance, is indeed very deceptive." Sig smiled back and turned to the Prime Minister and said, "Thank you for your answer. It has helped me understand what humans really think of dragons. The Dragon Kingdom, which worships dragons the most, has this feeling towards dragons, not to mention other countries. It seems that future plans will proceed smoothly." The Prime Minister quickly replied, "Your Majesty, you are too kind. Continue to serve you faithfully. Nazarick will not treat you unfairly. I look forward to seeing you next time." Sig summoned Mirror Color, a bright light flashed, and the original Magic World teleport was activated. In the blink of an eye, the Prime Minister was the only one left in the room. He was very shocked and muttered to himself, "It seems that the world is really going to change. Sorceress Kingdom, Midgard. Master Sig, please follow me. Master Ainz is waiting for you in the conference room." Sig had just arranged a place for Drodilin to stay, and Yuri was already waiting for him on the road, with a serious look on her face. Sig nodded, "Lead the way." From a distance, Ainz was standing at the door of the conference room, apparently waiting for him. Sig raised his hand and said, "Sorry, President, I'm late." Ainz said with a smile, "It's not too late. I set the time based on your progress. Now is just right." Sig held his forehead helplessly, "President, this will make me even more embarrassed. Why do you like to joke around?" "Of course I learned it from you, Sig-san." Ha ha ha. After joking with each other for a while, the two walked into the meeting room together. The Guardians knelt down at the same time, "Welcome to the Supreme Being." Albedo and Demiurge stood in the front, followed by Shaltir, Aura, and Mare, and at the back were Sebastian and Cocytus. Except for Gaukangda and Victim, all the Guardians are present. "Stand up, no need to be polite." At the long table, Ainz and Sig sat at the head seats, and the other Guardians sat down in order according to their positions. Ainz coughed lightly. "Do I need to repeat the topic of this meeting?" Albedo and Demiurge laughed at the same time, and the others also looked very excited. The documents of the dragon hunting plan had been circulated in advance, so they naturally already knew about it. Sig smiled and said, "Next, let's report on the mission, starting from the Elf Kingdom." "Yes." Aura raised her hand and stood up energetically. "With the help of Lord Sig, the next king of the Elven Kingdom has been confirmed to be Loki. Mare and I have also transported the Elven King's hidden property back to Nazarick. Although they are not very advanced items, they are better than nothing. The most precious thing is the bow and arrow left by the 8 Desire Kings, which is almost at the Holy Relic level." Ainz nodded and said, "Very well done." Aura and Mare were praised again, and both were very happy. After all, they are children and are very easy to satisfy. Cocytus went on to say, "The Dwarven Kingdom has also expressed its submission. Rune weapons are being produced in an orderly manner and have basically achieved mass production." Sig expressed his affirmation, "It was thanks to your forging skills that we were able to quickly subdue the dwarves." The big blue bug let out a breath of cold air, its pride evident in its words. Shaltir stood up impatiently, "I am also working hard to build transportation routes and put magical marks on various portals. I almost forgot about our transport captain. As one of the only 2 people in Nazarick who can use portal magic, Shaltir also plays a crucial role." Sig suddenly remembered the famous Frost Dragon route, so he said, "I have taken the Frost Dragons as my followers. They are of very low levels and are useless without battles, so I can have them participate in transportation. Shaltir will manage them from now on." Shaltir happily agreed, "Thank you, Sig-sama, Ainz. Managing Sig-sama's retainers is something that only a mistress would do." Albedo chuckled but did not comment on it. Listening to everyone's reports, Sebastian said with some shame, "I am ashamed. I was only concerned with accompanying Pswear and did not make any contribution." Sig smiled and said, "So Sebastian, are you guys together?" Sebastian didn't dare to hide it and said truthfully, "Yes, we have established a romantic relationship, but it has not progressed further." "Wow!" All the Guardians exclaimed in surprise. Sebastian was the first male Guardian to have a wife. Ahem, well, let's get down to business first. Ainz wanted to continue listening to the gossip, but if he continued, the topic of the meeting would deviate. Demiurge stood up and said, "I have already placed many spies in the Holy Kingdom, and the Holy Queen's every move is under control. According to the information obtained from monitoring the Seven-Colored Dragon King, it has been confirmed that the Platinum Dragon King will go to the Holy Kingdom. The preliminary plan has been successful, and the next step is to officially start the dragon hunt. That's right, the Seven-Colored Dragon King had no chance to send back any information. It was Nigild who set coordinates on his body and monitored him through remote magic. This is why Sig is anxious to take back Drodillan. The Platinum Dragon King can harm his companions, so there is no guarantee that he will not secretly kill people. As for whether the Seven-Colored Dragon King will be suspected and then eliminated, that is not something to consider now. After all, his value has been almost utilized. Chapter 192. Great, we can finally start slaying dragons. Shaltair's title is the Valkyrie of Blood. She was designed for combat from the beginning, and she has been doing logistical support and is unable to move freely. Aura said helplessly, "Watch your words, they're too vulgar." "Humph, of course I know, Ainz." Shaltair secretly glanced at the two supreme beings, of course mainly at Sig, as it was impossible to guess Ainz's emotions from his skull face. "But I can't see anything, what a shame." Cocytus stopped her coldly, "Shaltair, don't be disrespectful in front of the supreme being." "Sorry, it's my fault." The stubborn old samurai had spoken, and Shaltair took the opportunity to apologize. She didn't want to be disliked for this. Sig smiled and changed the subject without saying any more about the matter. "Although we have to start hunting dragons, try not to kill the Platinum Dragon King. He still has other uses." Mare said, "Well, how should we deploy it next?" Albedo took over the conversation and stood up with a smile. "Let me explain next. There are two main battlefields this time. One is the Holy Kingdom, and the other is the Platinum Dragon King's lair. We will face the Platinum Dragon King directly at the Holy Kingdom battlefield, so Lord Sig and Lord Ainz will be present. I will follow them, Cocytus will serve as my attendant, and Aura and Mare will stay in the dark, ready to provide support at any time." Demiurge and Sebastian raided the Platinum Dragon King's lair and seized his guardian object. That's the basic deployment. This mission has been given to Albedo and Demiurge. Ainz and Sig only need to make the final decision, and they have no objection to this arrangement. After all, the identities of Demiurge and Sebastian have never been made public, so it is safer to carry out tasks in secret. However, Shaltair, the only one who was not named, was a little confused. What should I do? As the chief steward of the Guardians, it was impossible for Albedo to seek revenge at a time like this. It was also impossible for her to forget about it, but with her limited wisdom, she could not guess the real reason. Demiurge answered her question with a smile, "Shaltair, you have another mission. In the hidden third battlefield, you will be responsible for dealing with the true Dragon King hiding underground." Hidden underground. The Kingdom of the Council, the Tower of Dragon. Two unfamiliar guests arrived at the meeting place of the Lifetime Reviewers. "Bai Jin, I didn't expect you to find help. I underestimated you." The man in black robe had a rather sarcastic tone. It was clearly daytime, but he found a dark corner to stay in, as if he was afraid of the light. The Seven-Colored Dragon King is also an old creature who has lived for nearly 1,000 years. The number of existing real Dragon Kings can be counted on one finger. Combined with the words of the Platinum Dragon King, he quickly determined the true identity of the man in front of him. "Chang'an, I didn't expect you to get involved. After all, the filthy props are really useful. Why did you join?" As a dragon who had killed a player, Chang'an obtained all of the other party's spoils, even an item that could change and destroy the world. He agreed to help last time just to gain benefits. The Platinum Dragon King also knew what the Dark Dragon King was thinking, and both dragons saw through it but did not say it out loud. The Seven-Colored Dragon King joined this time, and the Dark Dragon King specifically mentioned it, probably to test the other party's true thoughts. Although they are both true Dragon Kings, they cannot be considered companions, so trust is naturally almost non-existent. In fact, my breeding experiment has reached a bottleneck. If I can get a female NPC, I should be able to produce some very good offspring. The Seven-Colored Dragon King did not mention Dlodilin this time, obviously not wanting to attract fire from her. But this does sound a bit outrageous, I don't know if I can get away with it. Just as the Seven-Colored Dragon King was trembling with fear, the Platinum Armor snorted coldly, "You are still thinking about your perverted experiment. Your previous concern for the offspring was just an excuse." Chang'an Dragon King also echoed, "Kk, I have to say that this reason is indeed in line with your personality. The colorful Dragon King didn't know whether to cry or laugh. As expected, no dragon could understand him. But he had never thought about reproducing any creature related to filth. However, this backfired, as the Platinum Dragon King and the Dark Dragon King obviously believed it, and believed it very much. After this little episode, the Platinum Dragon King got to the point. Like I said before, I will use my main body this time, and Kake will also help. What about you, Chang'an? Among the 3 true Dragon Kings present, the Platinum Dragon King has the strongest combat power. In order to conquer him, multiple players must form a team, which is equivalent to the level of a regional boss. The Dark Dragon King is slightly inferior, but his unique origin magic is also very powerful. His body is underground and cannot see the sunlight, which puts him in an advantageous environment all the time. The weakest is the 7-colored Dragon King. He is indeed not a fighting type, but he can also be considered a fighting force and is much stronger than the ordinary Dragon King. The Dark Dragon King replied directly, I also said it before, the main body will not leave the underground, so I can only send this clone. Even if he wants to gain benefits, he has to be alive to get them. As long as his true body is hidden underground, no one can hurt him. The Platinum Dragon King did not force it, as he knew this was the limit of what he could achieve. Okay, that's settled. You and the 7-colored Dragon King wait here. I'll make arrangements and then we'll go to the Holy Kingdom together. After he finished speaking, the platinum armor flew away from this place like a stream of light. Chang'an's clone went into standby mode, hiding in the shadows and not moving. The 7-colored Dragon King closed his eyes silently. He was now in a dilemma and could only take one step at a time. Liar Long, I've made all these trips for you, and you don't even show any appreciation. The Platinum Dragon King opened his eyes and saw a petite figure stamping her feet in anger in front of him. It was the dusty Abreu. Ligulet smiled and teased, Char, look at you, you've made the crybaby angry. Hey, old woman, don't call me that. The Platinum Dragon King looked at this scene in a trance. When facing a crisis, he would indeed feel more at ease with the presence of a famous companion. During the 13 Heroes era, under the leadership of their leader Riku, their team was indeed excellent, killing the demon and saving the world. If he were still here at this moment, he would probably stand by me unconditionally and eliminate the filth. No, 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 Rick will most likely betray. After all, he is filthy too. The Platinum Dragon King shook off the distracting thoughts in his mind. It was useless to think about it now, so he let the truth remain buried in his memory. You two, I have a very important favor to ask of you. Please help me protect the guild's weapons. Ligulet pointed at the hanging sword, is this what you call the guild weapon? Abreu snorted, before asking someone for a favor, you should make it clear. The Platinum Dragon King sighed, you should know that the base of the 8 Desire Kings is the Sky City in the desert in the southern part of the theocracy. There are powerful beings called NPCs in it. Ligulet interjected, well, the leader once borrowed weapons from there. The Platinum Dragon King finally told the truth, his eyes were filled with coldness, which was the murderous intent towards the players. This sword is the key to restraining the NPCs. Once it is destroyed, Sky City will disappear. This is why I have been guarding it here. Chapter 193. The 8 Desire Kings have indeed caused great damage to the world, but NPCs are not necessarily evil. They also lent magic items to the leader, as you know. Ligulet's tone became more serious. She obviously didn't fully understand the Platinum Dragon King's thoughts. The impact of filth is too far-reaching, so we must take precautions before it happens. What the Platinum Dragon King wanted to say was to cut the roots of the problem, but he also had to consider the thoughts of the person in front of him, so he didn't say it too clearly. Abreu asked in confusion, according to what you said, why don't we just destroy the guild weapons and completely eliminate the Sky City and the NPCs? The Platinum Dragon King replied coldly, there is no way to determine whether the NPCs will die together after destroying the guild weapons, so we can't do that. Based on the known information, that is, what was learned from the leader Rick, we can only confirm the connection between the guild weapons and the Sky City, and that NPCs will become relatively independent individuals when they come to this world. Of the filth that has come to this world so far, only the 8 Desire Kings were transferred here along with the stronghold, and there is no more information to support this. The 8 Desire Kings and the Sky City named Leontius destroyed the lives of countless dragons and caused his father, the Dragon Emperor, to fall into an irretrievable situation. If there was really no other way, why would the Platinum Dragon King let go of those NPCs who helped the evil? Ligulit's expression was a little strange. He looks murderous. Whether in the Silver Knight period or in the later stages of getting along, the Platinum Dragon King has always been gentle and honest. It turns out that he also has this side. The Platinum Dragon King grinned, revealing his sharp white teeth. Anyway, I don't have anyone else to turn to. Letting more people know will only increase the risk. Although his several subordinate Dragon Kings were quite powerful, they were not his confidants after all, and were less trustworthy than his former companions. Ligulit thought for a moment and nodded, but you have to tell me when you'll be back. Since the things are so important, I can't take the responsibility if they're lost. It's better to die outside, then we don't have to deal with this mess. Ibarua was harsh in her words. She was not as good-tempered as Ligulit and was still brooding over the deception she had suffered from the Platinum Dragon King. The Platinum Dragon King instructed, if everything goes well, I will be back in 5 days. If it takes more than a week, you can go directly to the Sea City. Ligulit's expression became tense. If the negotiations fail, will we have to wake her up from her deep sleep at the bottom of the sea? Well, the filth this time is probably at the level of the 8 Desire Kings. I'm not sure if we can communicate normally. The Platinum Dragon King had a strong premonition that this time the filth also existed in a stronghold like the Sky City. Although the location is difficult to pinpoint, it was probably somewhere near the kingdom, since that is where it was initially occupied. Only when the filth is not in the base will there be a chance to kill him. This is why he resolutely decided to go to the Holy Kingdom. By the way, Ibarua, do you know what will happen to the Holy Kingdom? Why? Ibarua seemed to be distracted just now. She hesitated for a long time before slowly saying, I heard the maid talking about joint fighting skills, so I used my mind control skills to ask. At that time, Sig seemed to have something urgent to do, so he asked Ibarua to have a good rest before leaving. But it just so happened that she happened to hear the maids talking about something, so she asked a little more. Ibarua didn't want to betray Sig, but the Platinum Dragon King's words were so tragic that she couldn't just sit back and watch. After some inner struggle, I finally said it out. That's the way it is, believe it or not. The Platinum Dragon King thought about it carefully and couldn't help laughing. If that's true, it seems that the heavens are helping me. At this point, he almost understood Sig's intention. Building a stage to create opportunities for communication was indeed a good idea. It seemed to be in line with the wishes of both parties, but the Platinum Dragon King knew the nature of filth, and his original communication was just a cover. Just like deceiving the team leader Rick, taking advantage of the other party's kindness and trust, this is not the only time he did that. The Platinum Dragon King's eyes darkened. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to wipe out the filth. Holy Kingdom, Hobans. The 3-day deadline was approaching and all parties had completed their preparations, but the Holy Queen who was responsible for making the final decision was still hesitating. The reason is simple, Remedios still hasn't recovered his fighting power. Although the plan of joint fighting skills is good, the Holy Kingdom has no strong people to send out, and this is the most fatal point. When fighting between countries, even in friendly matches, one cannot lose too badly, as that would only cause more dissatisfaction among the people. Including the preparation time, there is about a week before the actual start, so maybe there is still a chance. Come on, get ready. I'm going to visit the leader of the Paladins. Accompanied by Pavel, Karko soon arrived at Custodio's mansion. Kuirat spent most of his energy on his sister's affairs, and the two also had a quarrel over the joint fighting skills, and parted on bad terms. Karko simply gave Kuirat a holiday so that both of them had time to calm down. The queen had to have someone available by her side, so Pavel came to power. He was taciturn, very capable, and his appearance was intimidating enough to intimidate others. Karko was also very satisfied with him, and the strange rumors that had been bothering her disappeared, which was a blessing in disguise. After the guard came forward and knocked on the door, the servant knelt down immediately. Your Majesty is here in person. I will go and tell him right away. Karko showed a charming smile. It's okay, I just came to visit Kuirat, just lead the way. The servant looked embarrassed and hesitated, not knowing what to say. When he saw Pavel's ferocious eyes, he began to tremble. Karl frowned slightly, but she still asked softly, what's wrong? The servant said quickly, just a moment ago, a warrior in silver armor came to visit, and Lord Kuirat is negotiating with him. Silver armor? There was no such person in Karko's memory, and he was obviously not a paladin. It's okay. I'll wait for a while. Please wait until they finish talking before passing the message. The servant nodded repeatedly and ran away immediately. Carl had been here many times, so he found the reception room easily without anyone's guidance. She sat down and waited for a few minutes before there was a hurried knock on the door. Karko, I found someone who can participate in the joint fighting competition. Kuirat opened the door excitedly, completely ignoring the presence of other people at the scene, and actually called out the queen's name. Karko was also a little confused at this time. She looked up and saw the figure shining with silver light behind her. This is the Silver Knight. Chapter 194. The Office of the Holy King. Karko solemnly placed the letter he had just written in Pavel's hands. Pavel, please go and give it to His Majesty Sig in person. As you command, Your Majesty. Pavel turned around and left without saying a single extra word. At this time, only Kuirat was left in the room. She stood there silently, with her head down and her expression unclear. Karko rubbed his temple and said in a tired voice, Kuirat, you should have discussed this with me instead of acting on your own. If someone comes to me at this time, there is a high possibility that he has ulterior motives. It sounds magical that the legendary hero wants to help the Holy Kingdom for free. Karl is just kind, not stupid. The appearance of the Silver Knight was too coincidental. Kuirat smiled and said, Karko, please trust me this time. But you should at least explain the content of the conversation. As a subject, reaching an agreement with foreign forces without the knowledge of the king is, in serious terms, an act of treason. Kuirat suddenly became excited. My sister's mind has not yet recovered. Have you ever thought about revenge on the Sorcerer King? Thinking carefully about the last war, it is obvious that the other side set a trap for the Holy Kingdom. Admitting defeat now will only confirm our mistakes. No matter what, we must win this joint fighting. Since the other party is unfair, don't blame me for being unkind. His face is like that of a bodhisattva, his heart is like that of a yaksha. Kuirat is only compassionate on the surface, but in fact, her heart is darker than her sister Remedios. She will never forgive any enemy who attacks her precious people, and will take cruel and fierce revenge. Karko sighed deeply. I am also responsible for Remedios's affairs. If I didn't agree with your plan, why would I let Pavel deliver the letter of consent? Kuirat's expression improved a little. Sorry, I was too excited. During this time, the nobles united and launched an attack on Remedios. What happened on the battlefield was widely spread by people with ulterior motives, and the citizens who did not know the truth took out their anger on Remedios, with some even saying that she should be executed directly. The reason why Remedios hadn't responded was because the faith that supported her to become a paladin had collapsed. Sisters are connected by heart, and Kuirat understands Remedios's thoughts best, so she gets angry at Karko for wanting her sister to fight again. Karko stood up and took Kuirat's hand, his eyes full of sincerity. Kuirat, everything will be fine, just bear with it for now. As a queen, you must put national interests first. Karl really cherishes the relationship between the three of them, but she can't do anything too extreme and can only comfort them first. Kuirat smiled compassionately and hugged him back. Don't worry, the Silver Knights will win for the Holy Kingdom. Of course, there is also the Sorcerer King's head. This was an agreed upon thing. As the saying goes, the first time is new, the second time is familiar. Pavel rode a fast horse and quickly arrived at the theocracy, where he handed the letter to Sig Lord Sig. Everything is as you expected. As expected, foreign aid has appeared. Pavel knelt on the ground respectfully, his admiration and worship overflowing. It was really foolish to make an enemy of such an unfathomable person. Sig just smiled and didn't say much about it. The information that Ibarua obtained was indeed leaked by him on purpose. In fact, it was all Zayadai's plan, and he just went with the flow. Even without Ibarua, things would have developed in the same way. There are just a few more coincidences now. Sometimes plans really can't keep up with changes, but the general direction won't change, and everything is proceeding along the established track. Sig simply said, Pavel, I can promise that once the affairs of the Holy Kingdom are resolved, you will be able to reunite with your wife and daughter. As you command, I will offer my loyalty. Pavel did not see this as a threat. In fact, he knew that allowing Nia to remain in the Sorceress Kingdom was the best option. Not only can it keep him away from danger and free him from worries, but it can also avoid a crisis of trust. Whether it was Lord Sig in front of him or Lord Ainz, both were extremely powerful beings. There was no need to use dirty tricks against a small figure like him. Sig smiled, "Stay tuned, Holy Kingdom." A week passed quickly, and when the agreed day arrived, all forces gathered together. The recent depressed atmosphere in the Holy Kingdom was swept away as people's attention was diverted elsewhere. The arena. The venue, built with the efforts of the whole country, is large enough to accommodate thousands of spectators, and the largest stand occupies the best position, overlooking the entire stadium. Although the venue is large, the facilities are much simpler than those of the Empire's arena, and it follows the Saint Queen's consistent clean style. Every citizen in the Holy Kingdom was mobilized as a soldier, and the fighting competition was unexpectedly popular. After hearing that the Sorceress Kingdom would also be participating, many warriors signed up to participate, mixed with a desire to win and revenge. Today is the first official day of the competition. There are already fighters sparring in the center of the arena to liven up the atmosphere. Carl sat in his seat, rubbing his fingers anxiously. Koirat, who was standing behind him, had a cold look on his face, with complicated emotions brewing in his eyes. Holy Dragon! No need, I am very familiar with His Majesty Karko. The voice of the messenger was interrupted by a gentle male voice. Karko became obviously much happier and stood up to greet him. Your Majesty Sig, you are finally here. Sig smiled softly, well, sorry to have kept you waiting. This is my follower, just call her Clementine. Clementine was wearing a pure white dress, but her bright red eyes showed a completely opposite emotion of compassion, which created a sharp contrast and also carried a sense of danger. However, there is no doubt that she is a beauty. Karko felt a little more of a sense of crisis. She certainly had not given up on Sig, the perfect marriage partner, and giving him the handkerchief was also a gesture of mercy. But this kind of occasion is obviously not the time to talk about love. Okay, where's that juicy swimming? Sig was a little helpless, she couldn't help but practice, but don't worry, I told her to be gentle. Carl replied with a smile, don't be ridiculous. The Holy Kingdom has experienced wars and is not that fragile. Both sides should be able to bring about a good fight. Facing such a kind-hearted Karko, Sig began to doubt whether he had gone too far. His desperate move was simply a way of bullying the weak. His Majesty the Sorcerer King has arrived. As soon as the voice sounded, the atmosphere became stagnant. Under the gorgeous robe was a skeleton's face, and the exposed hands were all white bones, emitting a strong smell of death. This is the Sorcerer King in Zoal gown, the king of the undead. Following behind was a stunning beauty in a pure white dress. The horns on her head and the wings around her waist were enough to prove that she was not human, but this did not affect her beauty at all. Her voice was as pleasant as her appearance, but cold and authoritative. You are not allowed to look directly at the Sorcerer King without permission. Chapter 195. Water flow acceleration double aerial slash. The petite girl burst out with great strength, and as she approached quickly, she slashed down with the cross scythe with unstoppable force. The man who was her opponent could only block hastily, the sword in his hand emitting light. Holy strike! This is a skill unique to the paladin. Infuse the weapon with divine power, and when it comes into contact with the enemy, it will explode in an instant, causing greater damage. Gustavo Montanez was the deputy leader of the paladins, so he was naturally able to use it skillfully. However, when he was congratulating himself for his quick reaction, he was kicked in the chest with a huge force. He flew almost straight out and finally fell on a soft cushion. Next. Gustavo breathed a sigh of relief again, his ribs were saved. Hey, could you please move away? The sound of a man gritting his teeth came from below him. It was the other vice-captain of the paladins, Isidro Sanchez, who had the title of Memoiro, one of the 9 colors of the Holy Kingdom. Sorry, I didn't notice. Gustavo quickly got up and helped his old friend up. The two of them served as vice-captains, shouldering the mission of cleaning up the mess of the paladin leader, Remedios, and thus established a deep friendship. Faced with this embarrassing situation, they both laughed bitterly at the same time. Gustavo raised his hand to tidy up his neat bangs. I can't beat him at all. This is the power of a god. Isidro nodded. If the captain was here, maybe we could have fought a few more moves, but that's all. After all, any discerning person can see that Juisajamu's strength is not at the same level as theirs. Even Remedios cannot escape the fate of being abused. It's just a matter of time. Gustavo sighed. Momoshiki, maybe we spoiled the leader too much, so she made such a big mistake. Remedios was indeed somewhat willful and unqualified as the leader of the paladins. She left all the work to the deputy leader and was only responsible for training. Both Gustavo and Isidro were under a lot of pressure. But even so, it is indeed a bit excessive to blame the lives of 50,000 people on Remedios. Isidro had a complicated expression, it has already happened. There is no point in talking about it anymore. Yes. While the two were talking, another figure flew towards them. Isidro learned his lesson this time and immediately hid aside. He didn't want to be a cushion for others anymore. Bang! The man fell heavily to the ground, his strong muscles and bones blocked most of the damage, and he actually stood up with a grin on his face. He's really too strong. I never thought I'd be able to fight against someone like him in my lifetime. All-round Campano was also one of the 9 colors, codenamed Red. The three of them looked at each other. You lost too. It was really difficult to ask this question. Most of the 9 colors of the Holy Kingdom were awarded based on strength, but some were awarded for outstanding contributions to the country. In such occasions when representing the country, the probability of meeting acquaintances is indeed very high. The strongest ones lost so miserably, the Holy Kingdom is doomed. Next. Chui Sijiming waved his hand, but his eyes looked towards the stands with a sly smile on his lips. Darling, if you want to use someone else's hand to please other women, you must be prepared for this. Albedo naturally noticed it, and seeing that Sig didn't look surprised, she just frowned and didn't say much. The Saint King's daughter was on the verge of tears. The seat beneath her was like a stove, constantly burning her buttocks, vividly interpreting the term fidgeting. Ainz beside her seemed to notice her embarrassment and asked considerately, Your Majesty, are you feeling unwell? Carco waved his hands quickly, trying to maintain a smile. I'm just a little tired from sitting here. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. The Sorcerer King's appearance was so shocking that she was still a little scared. I see. I think the probing is enough. It would be better for your country to send out the real strong ones. Why? Carco made a puzzled sound, with shock in his eyes that was hard to conceal. The existence of the Silver Knights is a secret. How could the Sorcerer King know about it? There was also some more vigilance in Koirat's eyes, and he secretly calculated the identity of the traitor in his mind. Ainz's eyes glowed red, and a powerful aura emanated from him. The strong should be saved for last, isn't it? Cocytus of our Sorceress Kingdom must be getting impatient too. Sig replied at the right time, Your Majesty Ainz, you are still so belligerent. This event should be to your liking. Ainz laughed out loud, of course, as long as the Holy Kingdom can put on a great fight, all the unpleasantness from before can be written off. Offer? Your Majesty, the Sorcerer King, is too conceited. Koirat finally couldn't help it. The undead were indeed evil monsters. They had clearly killed tens of thousands of soldiers, yet they still wanted to stand on the moral high ground and accuse them. Carco stopped her immediately and said seriously, Koirat, don't be rude. Ainz was not angry, but asked with interest, from your tone, it seems that you are very confident about the upcoming battle. As expected, he took the bait. Koirat raised his lips and said, This person is not from the Holy Kingdom. Is Your Majesty the Sorcerer King willing to accept this? Foreign aid? Interesting. I believe Cocytus will not lose. Although there was no direct answer, this statement clearly implied his consent. Carco stood up excitedly. She had indeed agreed to this plan before, but that didn't mean Koirat could act on his own. After all, the Silver Knight was too uncontrollable, so she only planned to send him out at the most critical moment. If I could gain the Sorcerer King's forgiveness through a complete failure, that would actually be possible. Carco. A warm hand grasped Carco's arm, and the gentle voice made her dazed for a moment. Sig let go and just shook his head. Carco realized that the Sorcerer King had already agreed. Now that things had come to this, any further comments from her would only cause dissatisfaction. She could only take things one step at a time. Koirat, let's do this, but make him be careful about the situation. Friendship comes first. As you command, Your Majesty. Koirat secretly apologized and went downstairs to inform people. She had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Cocytus, who had been waiting since early morning, also received the news. He was now fully armed and had put on all kinds of protective gear. In his sturdy arms was a katana, the blade alone was nearly 2 meters long, emitting a dazzling edge. I, Cocytus, will definitely offer complete victory to the Supreme Being. Chapter 196. Now, please welcome the next challenger, the warrior of the sorceress kingdom. Cocytus. As soon as Cocytus appeared on the stage, the audience gasped. A giant insect over 2 meters tall walked slowly towards the ring. Its thick tail was twice as long as its body. Its light blue skin shone like a diamond under the sunlight. Ice and frost condensed wherever it passed, and the cold was overwhelming. The so-called insect-like monsters are all ugly and terrifying, but the one in front of him is a completely different existence. The difference is so big that they don't even seem to be the same species. Do you want to continue fighting? A sound as cold and hard as ice came from the vocal organ under the huge jaw, and it didn't sound like the sound of a living creature at all. Chui Sijiming put away his sickle, jumped off the stage lightly, and said neatly, "I give up." Sig was right, this was definitely not something she could deal with. In order to avoid being beaten, she had better admit defeat honestly. She was not a masochist. Cocytus didn't say much, just nodded, a wise move. Then, the next one to appear is... Carco's heart was in her throat. She looked at the field nervously, afraid of missing any details. "My name is Silver Knight, and I am joining the war on behalf of the Holy Kingdom." A man in platinum armor walked onto the stage from the other side, with 4 weapons floating around him. It was indeed him. The audience was excited again, this time of course it was because of excitement. The 13 Heroes is the name given by the residents of the northwest corner of the continent to the heroic group that defeated the devil 200 years ago. They are undoubtedly legendary figures. In fact, the number is far more than 13. The races are not only humans, but also many other races, and there are even demon hybrids. However, the theocracy that wrote the legend was a country that put humans first. They only retained the human race and the subhuman races that had a good relationship with humans, and selected 13 people. This is a very famous legend in the northwest corner of the continent. It is widely circulated, and the Holy Kingdom is no exception. Really, the Silver Knight? After living for 200 years, is that still a human being? Maybe he just inherited the name, but the person under the armor is no longer the same person. Everyone was talking about it, and the atmosphere became very heated for a while. Kuirat smiled maliciously. "Haha, Sorcerer King, what are you going to do next? What do you want to do?" A female voice came from his ear, and Kuirat was so frightened that his hair stood on end. He took 2 steps back and took a fighting stance. "Who is it?" "Don't worry, I won't tell." "What?" Chui Sijiming waved his hand, leaving only his back. "Just a kind reminder, there is no good ending for going against the Sorceress Kingdom, so take care of yourself." Kuirat frowned and asked, "What do you want to say?" Chui Sijiming did not answer. She only spoke out to remind him out of kindness. As for what other people thought, it was none of her business. At this time, the 2 sides on the ring have formed an opposing trend and the atmosphere has become depressing. Cocytus released the passive ability of the seal, and the frost aura took effect. The cold air spread like a substance, and began to freeze around him. The buzzing sound of water droplets condensing in the air could be heard. He turned the hilt of the sword and pointed it directly at the enemy. "As a sign of respect, I will fight you with the god-slaying sword. This is my sharpest weapon. My name is Cocytus. Please tell me your name." As a warrior, Cocytus would give his enemies the most basic respect. The platinum armor paused for a moment, then mechanically uttered a name, Rick Acania. This is of course a pseudonym, but the former Rick was not chosen at random, it was the name of the leader he killed. "I see, let's fight." The man in platinum armor stood still. He had nothing to say to the filthy minions. He just uttered 2 words indifferently, "Come on. The battle begins." Cocytus pointed his toes, and a burst of cold air instantly burst out. "First, block the action." The platinum armor immediately left the ground and flew into the air. Cocytus did not give him time to react. A magic circle appeared on his hand and several ice cones shot out. Magic piercing ice bullet. There is no room to dodge in the air, and even if you avoid the attack, you will fall into a passive position. The platinum armor simply stopped dodging, a faint light appeared on its body, and the original magic light clothes was successfully activated. As the sharp ice cones were bounced away, the counterattack began. The man in platinum armor raised his arms, and 4 weapons flew out at the same time. The spear, the katana, the giant hammer and the broadsword stabbed at Cocytus from 4 directions. Akalanatha heart mantra razor blade. Cocytus stood still, and swung the god-slaying sword down, neutralizing the attack with just a few swings. Several weapons that were deflected did not fly far away, but immediately returned to their owners. The man in platinum armor grasped the giant sword and swooped down rapidly, slashing fiercely again. "That's a good attack, it's worth my real effort." Cocytus made such a comment and then raised the sword in his hand high. Akala strike. Kurigara sword. The sharp blade seemed to cut through the air, and a shrill wailing sound could be faintly heard. The giant sword and the katana collided violently, the platinum armor was bounced away, and Cocytus just took a step back to relieve the force. Cocytus is protected by the outer leather armor, so his HP is only slightly reduced, with almost no impact. As a magic swordsman, Cocytus' attack is much stronger than his defense, and his sword is very sharp and swift. But the platinum armor was different. While its HP was greatly reduced, the head armor was also directly pierced. Many people around cried out in surprise, saying that it was impossible for him to survive with injuries of this magnitude. "I originally thought it would be a battle of equal strength, but I didn't expect the winner to be decided so quickly. Look, the Silver Knight is still conscious." It turned out that the platinum armor was still suspended in the air, the magical light on his body had not dissipated, and the weapon was still floating beside him. "What's this?" Platinum armor simply threw away the broken helmet. It was clearly the moment to reveal his true identity, but it caused even greater panic. It turned out that there was nothing under the armor, just a shell. Koirat in the stands also widened his eyes at this moment, looking at the scene in disbelief. How could this happen? Things shouldn't be turning out like this. What a pity. I don't know who I'm talking to, and I don't know if it's about the battle that's not yet finished, or about what's going to happen next. The man in platinum armor opened his arms directly, and as his blood volume rapidly decreased, an invisible barrier instantly expanded with him as the center until it enveloped the entire arena. Origin Magic World Separation Barrier. Chapter 197. Life Essence. Magic Essence in size glowed, and the HP of the platinum armor decreased visibly, until it was less than a quarter of its original value. Just like what was said in the intelligence, using skills and taking actions consumes HP, but MP consumes none at all. He stood up, walked to the stands, and looked at the headless armor swaying in the air. "Silver Knight Rick Acania, what is your purpose?" The majestic voice echoed throughout the venue, and the platinum armor turned sideways and shifted his attention to Ainz. Although he no longer has a head, this apparently does not affect his hearing. "Filth, you have gone too far. I can't just sit back and watch." What does this mean? Not only Ainz, but everyone present did not understand what this meant. But platinum armor only spoke to himself, and his voice became extremely serious. "Those who possess power should use it carefully and take responsibility. Your existence is too dangerous. I must protect the world and correct its mistakes. So, disappear." As soon as he finished speaking, a dazzling light suddenly burst out in the sky, followed by a roar that resounded through the heavens and the earth. A white mushroom cloud rose into the sky and could be seen from several kilometers away. By detonating the last soul power of the platinum armor, a degraded version of the highest level origin magic primal Big Bang can be released. Although it can only exert a quarter of the strength of the normal version, it is enough. Ordinary people who were caught in it would die painlessly, while the filth would be seriously injured if they did not die. The Platinum Dragon King slowly opened his dragon eyes and said, "Go ahead, Kake. Now the arrow is on the string and has to be shot." The seven-colored Dragon King nodded and said, "Then let's do it." World teleport. Before the aftermath of the explosion had dissipated, two giant dragons descended into the sky. They flapped their wings, blowing away the smoke, and the scene below gradually became clear. The seven-colored Dragon King opened his mouth wide and said in disbelief, "How is it possible?" The Platinum Dragon King's expression also became solemn, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Filthy, you are indeed cunning." Leaves of the world tree Jwimming spread out his palms, and the emerald green leaves had become dim, and the magic protection shield also became dim. However, facing all the impacts of the explosion, this is also an inevitable result. She looked up at the giant dragon in the sky with a smile on her face. The Platinum Dragon King has finally appeared. Karko held onto the railing, looking at the scene in front of her in disbelief. Things just happened so fast that she didn't have time to react. "Your Majesty, the Sorcerer King, what on earth is this? I was also wondering what your country means. The Silver Knights should have been invited by you." Ainz's voice was cold, and his skeleton face was covered with frost. "No, I definitely didn't." Karko's face turned pale and she quickly denied it. Sig stepped forward and said, I believe Her Majesty Carco is unaware of this. She would definitely not do such a dirty thing, and this self-destruction attack should be intended to kill everyone here. Carl looked like he was saved, and his expression looked like he was about to cry. So, he should be someone close to His Majesty. This sentence was like a heavy punch that made Carco dizzy. Her lips trembled and a terrible idea emerged in her mind. In order to get revenge, Koirat would go to such lengths that he would even kill her? She turned to look at Sig, and when she was about to say something, she was suddenly pushed away. A black spike brushed past her and pierced into the chest of the person in front of her, causing blood to spurt out. Sig adults! A shrill female voice came from beside her, and the delicate queen was actually knocked unconscious and lay on the ground unconscious. Albedo armed herself in an instant and rushed out like a flash of black lightning, slashing down with the giant axe in her hand at an unstoppable speed. You damned bug! How dare you hurt Lord Sig? Go to hell! Chang'an's clone, hidden in the darkness, didn't bother to attack and quickly dodged, fleeing at an extremely fast speed. Albedo was completely irritated, and she flapped her wings, trying to continue the chase. Okay, Albedo. Sig quickly spoke up to stop her. After using full recovery, the wound on his chest was healed and his lost HP was restored. It's a shame to use this skill before the battle begins, but it's worth it to be able to quickly restore combat power. That should be his strongest attack. There is no other threat. Let Nigreed track him down from now on. Chang'an Dragon King's idea is also very simple, he wants to quickly reduce a combat force. Compared to Ainz, who has Albedo protecting him and is an undead, Sig seems easier to kill. In fact, Sig's defense and health are much higher than Ainz's. The attack just now only looked scary, but it was far from enough to really kill him. Ainz suppressed his anger in his voice, there is absolutely no breath at all. I was careless. When facing an enemy you have never fought before, problems will arise even if you are fully prepared. Sig stretched his body. He was actually quite happy because he caught the Dark Dragon King at the very beginning. If we are attacked by surprise during or after the battle, the losses will be even greater. He explained with a smile, the Dark Dragon King possesses a special origin magic. This ability to hide his aura is only suitable for ambushes. It should have been specially developed for the clone. But he should be completely unable to move before attacking, and can only hide in the dark, which will not be very useful in actual combat. Albedo clenched the axe in her hand, her face beneath the armor distorted with anger, and her body trembled slightly. But I was given the strongest defensive capabilities and was given the honor of guarding the Supreme Being closely, but I still let you get hurt. I really deserve to die. Before Albedo could react, she fell into a warm embrace. Hey, Master Sig. Sig said gently, Albedo, it's okay. I don't want you to get hurt. The two of them were so unrestrainedly close that Ainz, who was forced to be a light bulb, was speechless, and even his anger dissipated a lot. Mr. Sig, please pay attention to the occasion. How rude. Albedo pursed her lips and returned to her usual ladylike demeanor. Sig looked at the two dragons in the sky, turned around and ordered, Clementine, you stay here and watch over the Saint Queen. Try not to let her die. Yes, sir. Clementine responded in a low voice. She had been standing there on standby, and no one would notice her presence unless she spoke. Sig smiled and invited, then President, come with me to catch a dragon. Ainz's eyes flashed red, just don't kill it. The bones, flesh and scales should be recyclable. Haha, are you a devil? Chapter 198. What on earth is going on? Giant dragon. There's a giant dragon in the sky. If you don't want to die, run away. The explosion just now was indeed violent. Although no casualties were caused under the protection of the leaves of the World Tree, the sudden attack still caused the crowd to fall into chaos. Some people ran to the entrance of the arena, but found that there was an invisible barrier separating this place from the outside world. No matter how hard you attack, you can't break it, you can neither get in nor get out. This discovery made people even more frightened, fearing that they would lose their lives by accident, and they could not care about anything else. Your Majesty, protect your Majesty. The defeated trio, led by Gustavo, wanted to protect the Emperor, but it was difficult to move against the flow of people. Allround, who had sharp eyes, spotted a familiar figure and quickly called out, Boss Pavel. Ever since he lost to the archer Pavel Barija in his best warrior field, he had great respect for this man, so he would not admit his mistake. Pavel turned around and noticed them. He glared at them and said, "Go to the front right. There are fewer people there." Good. The three of them finally squeezed out of the crowd and successfully met with Pavel. All-Round immediately said, "Boss Pavel, the situation is urgent. We must hurry to protect His Majesty the Holy King." Pavel shook his head calmly, "No hurry, there are people protecting us over there." Gustavo frowned. Compared to the violent character of the captain, he was obviously much more rational. "Do you know something, sir?" Pavel glanced at him with some surprise in his eyes, but he didn't say much. He just said calmly, "Anyway, stay calm and stay where you are. It will be very dangerous next." Before anyone could ask any more questions, the sky began to shake. No, it's not the sky that is shaking, it's the second wave of attack coming. The colorful Dragon King spewed out grey dragon breath, and pure energy waves gushed out, colliding violently with the protective shield formed by the leaves of the world, which was already crumbling. The crowd fell into silence. With no chance of escape, they could only wait for death. Once the dragon's breath descends, no one can escape. At this moment of despair, the magic chanter in a long row brushed to the sky. He raised his hand, and lightning fell from the sky and directly hit the colorful Dragon King. 9th level, the most powerful magic, thunderbolts. The seven-colored Dragon King screamed, his dragon breath was interrupted, and he fell directly from the sky, disappearing from everyone's sight. The Platinum Dragon King widened his eyes, 7 colors. Ainz held the golden scepter in his hand and waved it. His majestic voice was transmitted to the ears of everyone present through the amplification magic. "Don't panic, the dragon is nothing to be afraid of." The crowd was silent for a moment, then burst into cheers. The corners of the Platinum Dragon King's mouth twitched. Even though he wanted to kill everyone present, he did not think of himself as an evil being. Sacrifices necessary for the stability of the world. After all, this world once belonged to the dragon race, and humans are just the lowest race. Compared with the previous casualties, the death of a few thousand people is nothing. The sin will be borne by him. The situation at this time is indeed somewhat unfavorable. Kakai cannot be relied upon, and there is no news from Chang'an. The enemy seems to have been prepared. But the Platinum Dragon King was not planning to escape. Although things were different from what he expected, it was a fact that the filth had left the guild base. If you let the other party leave, it will be troublesome to kill him next time. There's no need for flowery words. If you want to fight, then fight. Sig appeared beside Ainz. Equipped with divine armor, he was already fully armed, and the weapon in his hand was the world-class item Gungnir. He laughed and said, "It's really arrogant of you to not explain at all." The Platinum Dragon King sneered, "I have nothing to say to a guy who is good at playing tricks on people. Don't say such harsh words. Aren't you also not prepared to communicate? It's the same with you." The Platinum Dragon King was choked, his dragon eyes flashed with cold light, he was really seen through. He thought Sig wanted to communicate, so he set the trap, but he didn't expect that the other party had the same idea as him. At the same time, Albedo and Cocytus also flew up. A team of 4 is enough to fight against the area boss. The Platinum Dragon King spread his wings. All mistakes started from having power. The desire for the unknown led to accidents. But we will not and cannot ask for forgiveness. Mistakes should be corrected. Disappear, you filth of the Dragon Emperor. High-level origin magic world annihilation. The pure flow of energy gathered into a terrifying shock wave, attacking with the momentum to annihilate everything. Spread. The range of world annihilation is very large, but it is not difficult to avoid, but I was still affected. Although they were not hit directly, their HP was indeed reduced, especially Ainz who lost the most blood. The Platinum Dragon King seems to have a special skill, and the strength of the undead will decrease in front of him. The battlefield was divided, with Albedo guarding in front of Ainz and Sig and Cocytus on both sides. Although the three have different focuses, they are all warriors who can fight and resist. Ainz is the only magic caster, so he must have a vanguard to protect him. Albedo is undoubtedly the most suitable person. Sig couldn't help but complain, he started with a big move, what an impatient guy. He raised his hand, and a black energy ball condensed in his hand, targeting the Dragon Clan. The bonus buff brought by Dragon Slayer took effect immediately. Then I will return the favor a little bit, Dragon Kill, Ultimate Death. Middle level origin magic True Light Cloth. The Platinum Dragon King took a locking skill head on, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, but his HP only dropped by about 30%. Compared to the 7-colored Dragon King, the Platinum Dragon King has obviously more combat experience, and he is a type that is very good at fighting. Tisk, it's so hard. Deathmatch Dragon Slayer Holy Protection Sig applied a few buffs to himself and rushed forward with a gun. In order not to reveal too much of his strength, he did not summon the Ice Dragon to fight with him, gave up the bonus of the Dragon Knight, and could only fight hard. Cocytus was not to be outdone, his forearms were full of weapons. I can't be a dragon fighting with the Supreme One. Akala strike. Kurigara sword. During this time, Ainz also began to chant a spell. Dragon Tribe Disaster Glorious Emerald Body Impurity Protection Magic Essence. After realizing that the Platinum Dragon King was restraining him, Ainz frantically buffed himself, accumulating more than 30 buffs in just a few minutes. He raised his hand and swung it, tearing through space and slashing it directly out. Magic Triple Most Enhanced, Immediate Cutting. One of the wings on one side of the Platinum Dragon King was completely cut off. He could hardly control his body and finally let out an angry roar. Damn filth! Chapter 199. I will never forgive such vile filth. The Platinum Dragon King roared, and the energy of the Soul River was quickly withdrawn. The wound deep enough to see the bone healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Origin magic is incompatible with rank magic, so the true Dragon King cannot use many healing magics. Of course, dragons also have their own healing magic, which is to quickly replenish HP by consuming soul power. This is a method that is only used in emergencies and is quite luxurious. After all, HP can be restored on its own, or with the help of other people, but soul power is much more precious. The amount of souls that each true Dragon King obtains from the world's soul river is limited, just like the blue bar in the game. Once the limit is exceeded, one can only wait for the soul power to recover on its own. If you want to use it immediately, you can also consume your own life essence, and the most extreme way is to sacrifice. The dragon race has been the overlords of this world since ancient times. They possess the protection of the world, and depriving other creatures of their lives is also part of their power. At least this had not changed until the advent of the 8 Desire Kings. Below the Dragon Clan, all things are Ainz. After that tragic war, a large number of dragons died, the original magic was polluted, and the former glory no longer existed. The Platinum Dragon King participated in that war, so he cannot allow Ainz and the others to leave alive. Shut up, you stinking lizard! Albedo shouted angrily, and as the giant axe fell, Wall of Jericho was activated. The effect of the original magic True Light Clothes ended, and this blow really hit him. The Platinum Dragon's glowing scales suddenly cracked and a large piece of it sank in, making it look extremely miserable. However, the Platinum Dragon King at this time had no intention of saving his soul power and immediately repaired his body. He grinned, "It's no use, there's no way you can defeat me. How dare you be so arrogant in front of the Supreme Being? You deserve to be killed." The usually calm Cocytus was unexpectedly angry. He swung the weapon in his hand and rushed forward at an extremely fast speed. The extremely sharp god-slaying sword emitted a cold light. Akalanatha Heart Mantra Dance of Death. Using weapons with all 4 limbs and arms to attack, this is the complete posture of the Ice Age ruler, the king of weapon warfare. Albedo also rushed forward, using the giant axe transformed from the world-class item Hell's Abyss. Although its attack power was not top-notch, it was enough to give the Platinum Dragon King a hard time. Sig was startled by the fierce attacks from both men, so he simply retreated to Ainz's side and acted as his bodyguard for the time being. Ainz said in a deep voice, "Sig-san, I feel like something is wrong." Sig looked at the Platinum Dragon King in the center of the battlefield, "So you, President, have noticed it too?" The Platinum Dragon King looks desperate and seems to be planning something bad. In the original book, this dragon is quite insidious. On the surface, he appears to be an upright person, but he takes advantage of his companions' trust and stabs them in the back. They even made up a story like team leader Rick accidentally killed his companion and didn't want to be resurrected, so he gave his belongings to him before he died. Not only did he solve the hidden danger, but he also recovered all the magic props and weapons. Others still thought he was a good person. Ligulet and Ibarua were completely kept in the dark and thought that the Platinum Dragon King was the messenger of justice. In fact, the Platinum Dragon King does not represent the so-called justice. What he wants is to maintain the order of the world and protect the world. To achieve this goal, he doesn't care what means he uses or who he sacrifices. Sig smiled and said, but I can almost guess that he has a similar personality to me. We are both unscrupulous. Ainz was a little confused, but then he saw Sig pointing downwards. If it's a soul, there are nearly 10,000 people below. If there's another self-destruction. The few of them were so close, and except for Albedo, they would probably all be killed. Ainz's eyes flashed red, and because he was too angry, he triggered forced calmness, so he immediately used message. Aura, get ready. Yes, sir. Then Ainz no longer held back and suddenly spread his arms, completely enveloping him in an oval-shaped magic circle. Cocytus and Albedo noticed Ainz's action and immediately stepped back. After all, in reality, there is no friendly protection like in the game, and you will definitely get hurt if you are affected. The Platinum Dragon King's pupil shrank, and he opened his mouth to release dragon breath, trying to forcibly interrupt the attack. Sig took action first. He raised Gungnir and threw it out with force. The spear flew out rapidly like a meteor across the sky. Pierce through everything, meteor spear. Roar. The Platinum Dragon King's neck was pierced directly, and the spear was stuck in his throat, so the dragon's breath was forcibly held back. It looks like there are no more enemies. Let's just end it like this. Ainz raised his hand and crushed the gold item, and the magic was activated immediately. Super-level magic Skyfall. The terrifying white sphere hung in the air, emitting a dazzling white light, and then quickly fell. The heat generated by the ultra-high temperature heat source expanded rapidly, completely enveloping the Platinum Dragon King. The pain of being burned by the sun made the Dragon King, who had lived for 700 or 800 years, roar. The dragon scales seemed to have lost their protective function, and the heat directly roasted the skin and flesh, which then turned into a charred black color. It was even more painful than being steamed alive. The flesh melted and the scales fell off. It was truly horrifying. The Platinum Dragon King's health dropped rapidly and was about to reach the life-threatening red line. He could not care about anything else at this moment and immediately prepared to use his biggest move. Be buried with me. Life sacrifice. Original magic. Original Big Bang. Pseudo-psychic attack. The Platinum Dragon King suddenly felt an inexplicable hostility coming from behind him and looked back unconsciously. It was this 1 second of hesitation that interrupted the original magic that was about to be launched, and several chains attacked. It was Sig's absolute binding of dragon skill. It has a special attack against dragon species and can apply a debuff of suppression seal. Frost Aura. Cocytus took this opportunity to fully unleash his passive ability, and the cold air completely enveloped the Platinum Dragon King, freezing it into an ice sculpture. First hot and then cold, the Platinum Dragon King's dragon scales completely exploded at this time, his whole body was unable to move, and he fell directly to the ground. Paralysis. Desperate Aura. True Darkness. Curse. Negative Burst. Ainz cast magic as if it were free, bombarding everything in his path. When the smoke cleared, the Platinum Dragon King had lost consciousness. Ainz then used Life Essence to check the opponent's HP. There's 5% left, which is almost enough. Sig couldn't help but tease, I'm really afraid that you'll kill him. Ainz said helplessly, how could I make such a stupid mistake? It was just for insurance. Sig smiled and said, anyway, the dragon hunt was a great success. Platinum Dragon King, captured successfully. Chapter 200. Hey! Aura jumped down from a great height, rolled several times in the air, and landed steadily next to the Platinum Dragon King. The light movements seemed to have no gravity, which was the talent of the gorilla soldier. It was a textbook perfect landing. But this made Mare suffer. He could only chase after her while holding the heavy staff. Sister, wait for me. Hurry up, Mare. Really, you're always so slow. Mare rushed to Aura's side breathlessly, raised his hand to tug at the hem of her skirt, and then looked up at the sky with his sister. Meet the Supreme One. At this time, several people in the sky also fell down. Ainz directly ordered, Aura, thank you so much for what happened just now. In the final stage of the battle just now, it was thanks to Aura's interference skills that the Platinum Dragon King's spell casting was interrupted directly. It was really timely. Aura blushed at the compliment and waved her hands, this is what I should do. Sig stroked his chin and suddenly said, Mare, could you please turn this place into a natural cage? The place where the Platinum Dragon King fell happened to be in a forest area. The terrain could be easily changed using large-scale magic, which happened to be Mare's area of expertise. Mare clenched the staff in his hand and nodded vigorously, okay, okay. Ainz responded, Sig-san, are you saying that we won't bring the Platinum Dragon King back to Nazarick? Sig nodded slightly. We need to spread the news that the Platinum Dragon King has been captured, so that we can lure out the true Dragon King who is hiding in the dark and watching. Others don't know, but Sig knows it very well. In addition to the rotten coffin Dragon King whose life and death are unknown, there is also a true Dragon King named Kind Mother. Her strength is no worse than that of the Platinum Dragon King, and it seems that there are other true Dragon Kings under her command. The strength of the 6 central countries is not that strong, and the power of the Loving Mother is the last stumbling block for Nazarick to conquer the world. Sig continued to instruct, Aura, next I'll have to trouble you to use the Mountain and River Society map to isolate this place to prevent outsiders from invading. Yes, sir. Aura took off the scroll on her back and slowly unfolded it in front of the remains of the Platinum Dragon King. A ray of light was released from it. This large and unprepossessing scroll is none other than the world-class item map of mountains, rivers, and states. You can choose one of 100 spaces and drag all the surrounding beings including the user into the barrier, reversing the reality and the world in the painting to create an isolation effect. Anyone who enters this area will be dragged into the barrier and trapped inside. There is only one way to escape, but it is random among the 40 options and only the user knows the correct answer. The Platinum Dragon King is a genuine Dragon King who possesses the protection of the world. The map of mountains, rivers, and states is ineffective against him. Sig's purpose was not to trap the Platinum Dragon King, but to use it to screen people for rescue. If he is not the real Dragon King, he will be trapped, but if he is the real Dragon King, he can be captured directly. Sig stepped forward and took out a magic item in the shape of a collar, which was specially prepared for capturing the true Dragon King, and had the effects of suppression and prohibition of healing. Due to their small number and low durability, he did not use them when dealing with the 7-colored Dragon King. With this, there shouldn't be any major problems. It was so safe that Ainz couldn't help but give it a thumbs up. Caution is the best policy. However, I still feel that we should add some guards and backup. Cocytus, you will also stand guard here. You are allowed to mobilize the combat power of the ice prison to ensure that the Platinum Dragon King's health does not exceed 5%. You are allowed to kill him if an accident occurs. As he spoke, Ainz set up a magic barrier to delay teleportation. As long as you use teleportation magic within the range of the barrier, it will be hindered and cannot be used immediately, which can buy enough time for action. Aura and Mare, don't be careless. You are both precious beings in Nazarick. You must put your own safety first when necessary. The 3 of them responded in unison, their expressions very serious. Even so, Ainz knew that given the loyalty of the Guardians, they would probably fight to the death. There was nothing that could be done about it. Sig gave Ainz a reassuring look and immediately summoned his strongest follower, the Ice Dragon Ars. The sharp dragon claws tore through space, bringing bone-chilling cold. The dragon lowered its head. Greetings, Lord Sig. Through the empathy between master and followers, Ars already knew his mission, with the cold light flashing in his ice-blue eyes. With 4 fighters of level 100, they can stop the true Dragon King even if he comes. Sig's eyes were grim. Anyone who dared to approach this place would be killed without a trace. After deploying the Platinum Dragon King, Sig and Ainz went their separate ways. Ainz and Albedo went directly to appease the people, while Sig went to find the Dragon King who had been AFK from the beginning. The moment the Platinum Dragon King lost his combat power, the effect of the World Isolation Barrier also lost its effect. For the 7-colored Dragon King who watched the entire battle, he didn't dare to have any other thoughts at the moment. He just lay there obediently waiting to be questioned. He has never been good at fighting, so he did not participate in the battle with the 8 Desire Kings that year, and naturally he did not know the horror of filth. Damn you, Platinum! I thought you were really capable, but you got caught like this. The 7-colored Dragon King prayed silently, hoping that Sig would not bother with him for the sake of Durad Island. What are you thinking about? The colorful Dragon King trembled with fear and almost couldn't help shouting. He knelt more properly than before and was even faster than the Frost Dragon King. He was indeed worthy of being the true Dragon King. Greetings to the Supreme Being, I am incompetent. Sig looked at him with a smile, quietly waiting for his next words. The 7-colored Dragon King's heart was beating like a drum. He simply made up his mind, Little Dragon is willing to become your family member and serve you as a slave. Sig touched his chin and said with some regret, but my follower magic level is too low. I can't make the true Dragon King my follower. The 7-colored Dragon King had already taken that step, so he simply stopped hiding it and said directly, Origin magic can do it. The reason why the strongest dragon in the past became emperor was that he mastered similar original magic, which allowed other dragons to obey him. Sig's eyes lit up. This was what he wanted, to enslave the true Dragon King. After being enhanced by the Dragon Knight, the Ice Dragon Ars is at most as strong as a level 100 player and cannot break through the upper limit. But the powerful true Dragon Kings are different. They are stronger than ordinary dragons and have superior attributes in all aspects. Just like the Platinum Dragon King, his level is around 95, but it takes at least 2 level 100 fighters to defeat him. From this we can see that level is not the true strength of the true Dragon King, and the origin magic directly raises the upper limit of the Dragon Clan. Get up! I don't mean to blame you. After all, you did bring the Platinum Dragon King here. The 7-colored Dragon King breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that his life should be saved. Sig sighed, however, that undead man doesn't have as good a temper as you do. Whether you can gain his forgiveness depends on your performance. Why?
If you're enjoying the story so far and want to hear the next parts, don't forget to like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And if you'd like me to continue the series, drop a comment below letting me know. Your feedback and support keep these audiobooks going strong. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.